This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mama. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
Plan to get away with Lamers Tour and Travel. Choose from day trips to extended trips, all in the luxury of a Lamers Tour bus. The extended upcoming trip, December 12th to the 14th, is Frankenmuth Bavarian Christmas. Day trip in December is Chicagoland Shopping Weekend on December 1st and 2nd. Go to lamers.com for a complete listing of 2019 trips and start planning now for your winter and spring getaways. Lamers has trips to all the best locations and the convenience of coach accommodations. Go lamers.com.
Discover buried treasure. Discover fun at Cave of the Mounds. This is a must-see geologic wonder. Daily tours pass a stunning array of colorful crystal formations on paved, lighted walkways. Plus, Cave of the Mounds is a comfortable 50 degrees every day. There's lots of fun above ground, too. Dig for treasure, discover fossils, hike the trails, or stroll the gardens. Kids rock at Cave of the Mounds with educational programs for school, scout, and youth groups, as well as summer camps and birthday parties. Cave of the Mounds, just 25 miles west of Madison.
Here's a look at your weatherology forecast. A few spotty flurries here early this afternoon. Otherwise, we'll see cloudy sky conditions with temperatures holding rather steady. It'll be breezy with west winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour and at times gusting as high as 30. For tonight, a chance for some snow showers. Cloudy skies, a low near 21. Windy northwest winds gust as high as 45. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on your hometown station AM 1430 WBEV.
Currently, it's 29.
It always seems hard to find the time to take care of some of those things that we put off. This is Beth from Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services. Planning for your funeral is probably not on your list of favorite things to do, but in so many ways, it is a real gift to those you leave behind. When you pre-plan your funeral, your loved ones will not have to worry. They won't have to guess at what your wishes might have been because you've taken care of all the details ahead of time. Pre-planning is as simple as visiting with us and telling us what your wishes are. We are here to help you through the process. Jerry Henkes, Tricia Schweiger, and John Lighting, along with Russ, Josh, and Dan Kepsel, and myself, Beth Kepsel-Ziemer, we're the Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services, with funeral homes in Beaver Dam, Mayville, Horicon, Reesville, and Columbus, and we are here to help.
For the latest local news, visit dailydodge.com. Brought to you by American Bank, your hometown bank since 1891. We have our roots where others have branches.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our Veterans Day tribute here on WBEV AM 1430. We're also on dailydodge.com this afternoon to our broadcast on our live stream, or you can watch it on our video tab on dailydodge.com. This is a Veterans Day special tribute program that we have been doing for a number of years. And the reason that we do this program is to, well, gain a greater understanding of the sacrifices that our veterans, both men and women, make. When they swear to uphold the Constitution and put their hand up, they are in effect putting life and limb at risk for us and all of the freedoms that we enjoy. And the purpose of this program is to make those sacrifices that they made known so that we can better understand what real value our freedoms have, and that we can also better understand the sacrifice that these men and women made, and that how much we really owe to them. We want to thank our sponsors for this afternoon's program. We're Horicon Bank, Kepsel Murray Funeral Home, American Bank, Hups Repair Center, Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services, and also Edward Jones, Richard Greep. Without them, this program would not be possible. And as you go through the course of the coming year, remember these sponsors, and if you see them, thank them for sponsoring the program this afternoon. It's really a unique opportunity, as I said, to learn about what these veterans have gone through. This afternoon, we're going to be talking to a veteran from the World War II, a Korean War veteran, and we're going to start this afternoon's program with a Vietnam War veteran. And welcome to the show, Bob Krieger from Juneau, Wisconsin.
Thanks, John.
Born and raised in, or born in Horicon, correct?
Correct.
Where did your life path take you right after you were grew up, right as you were growing up?
Well, my uncle more or less influenced me because he was a World War II Marine, and I kind of got a lot of ideas about joining the military then. When I got out of high school in 1967, I had a few jobs after that, but I wanted something more exciting. And I thought, well, I went to various recruiters, and I seen the Army recruiter came to my door one day and says, well, here I am. So we went over a few things, you know.
So
and
you
said,
volunteered.
Correct.
As opposed to back in those days, there was a draft.
That's right.
And I suppose many of your friends got drafted, but you decided to volunteer for the Army.
That's right. Yes, sir. I want to see some action, and my uncle says, all right, you know where to go. So here I am. So,
all right.
So I took my basic in Fort Gordon, Georgia. We took advanced training over there, supply, also survival school there, you know, how to survive, and we had to learn how to eat various insects and snakes in case you would have to get lost in the jungle or your perimeter or somewhere got separated from your unit. And then from there, from Fort Gordon, Georgia, I went to Fort Lee, Virginia for extra AIT, which means Advanced Infantry Training over there. And then we went through more training over there, how to, you know, to do various survival techniques, and also to do our MOS training as well. So.
Did you know from the get-go you were going to Vietnam? You volunteered for the Army. Did you volunteer to serve in Vietnam?
I wanted to go. Actually, I wanted to go. And I talked to my recruiter, and I said, I hope I get my enlistment. So when I was in Fort Gordon, Georgia, during my training, I says, there's my ticket. Here I am. So I got my instructions to go there and report to Fort Lewis, Washington, after my AIT in Fort Lee, Virginia. So we stood there for a while. We got all our gear over at Fort Lewis, Washington. We got all our BDUs over there, all our combat stuff we had to use. Our boots were issued over there. And I felt, holy moly, this is really something else. You know, I feel like a soldier ready, you know, big time, ready to go. So I went from there. We took a flight over to called Cam Ranh Bay. It's on the east coast of Vietnam. And the guy says, when you get off the airplane, when you debark, it's going to be hot. As soon as I got on that tarmac, it was hot, really hot. Probably 110, 115 degrees right off the bat. And
now,
wow.
being from Horicon, Dodge County, you probably hadn't felt the really hot 110 degrees with a lot of humidity. First time hit you in the face.
Yeah, just like a hammer. So
how long did it take you to get used to that?
Probably a good weeks, I mean, a couple of weeks, maybe more, you know, because you had no else where to go. You were there.
We were talking before we went on the air. Army fatigues are heavy material.
Yeah.
So it's not like wearing a short sleeve shirt or a light shirt over there. You had to wear that heavy stuff all the time.
Yeah, they were they called rib material. If you look at the uniform, the shirt and the pants, you know, you can see a little like rib stitch in there, and they were supposed to be pretty light for wearing. But once they got wet, that was another story. You get caught out in the monsoons, and you'll feel the weight. You know,
18 years old.
18 years old.
This was the first time you were really away from home?
Yes, yeah. I weighed 147 pounds dry. About maybe 120, maybe 150 some, maybe wet. You know, from the monsoon weather. If you get caught in the rain, you know you get caught in the rain. We wore our helmets over there as usual, our backpacks. I supported an M14 rifle, 7.62 full metal jacket, they call it.
Now, in today's terms, that is an M14 is a semi-automatic rifle.
Correct.
I think you could fire them on full automatic.
Yes,
correct?
sir. 20 round clip.
Okay, and it
Yep.
carries for hunters who are listening, it's a 308 cartridge.
308
basically,
cartridge, correct.
That's
yes.
used in it. And most people, when they think of Vietnam, think of the M16, the
Yes,
AR,
yeah,
so to
yeah,
speak, which
yes.
stands for Armalite Company, which
Right.
made the ARs.
Right, Colt, yeah.
And they shot a 223 cartridge, which was a lot smaller. Did you have a choice of which rifle you would use?
Well, when I got to my unit, they had both weapons, and I wanted a 14 because I knew it had a lot of stubbing power. It went in small, came out big, you know. And your M16, basically, or small shells, they would tumble a lot. When you hit the body, it would tumble. Or as a 14, it was one shot through. You know, That was it.
What were you trained to do?
Trained to do.
In terms of what was your job?
When I was over there? Well, I went into combat supply unit over at 628 Main Support Battalion out in Pleiku, which is only about a few miles from Cambodia. And when the B-52s would drop their bombs on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, that's where it was, you could see the flash in the background, also the rumbling in the ground from the 500, 1,000-pound bombs that the B-52s dropped over there. We call them Bingo 5-2, which means, B-52 in terminology, in military terminology. So, but I went on a lot of convoy trips riding shotgun. It means you're on the passenger side with an M14 or machine gun, whatever it could cause. We'd go up to An-Khe Pass, Kontum, up in that area for supply and drop off ammunition, other medical supplies, stuff like that. On the way up to An-Khe Pass, they call it Dead Man's Curve because what happened, you got a cliff on your left side, okay, on the driver's side. It goes straight up like a mountain, straight up. On the right side of the road is a straight cliff going down. I mean, there's no drop. It's a drop, but no fence, no guardrail, nothing. You got enough possibly for 2 trucks to go through if everybody's paying attention to what they're doing. And every now and then, you'll see a lot of accidents that previously happened down there. There'd be 3/4-ton vehicles down there, maybe a deuce snap, they'd be laying down all smashed.
That they went over the side
over
of
the
the road.
side. And also the Viet Cong, we call him Victor Charlie in military terminology, would sit on top of the cliff, way on top, and they would lob a grenade down. Good tactics. They'd take out the first truck and the last truck. Now you're in between. So what are you going to do with the first truck? You got to get them off the road. It depends on the damage. Push them off the road and continue. So we had a couple of firefights going that way, and we got smart.
What did you do about the Viet Cong that were on top? There's not much you could do about
Not
them.
much you can do, but hopefully you can hit somebody, But we got smart. We had a 2.5-ton deuce snap truck, and we armor plated, which had.
You armor plated it, or
not
it
me.
came that
They
way?
came that way.
Okay.
They were issued for convoy driving, and we call that how you call it, a battle wagon. They would contain either a 50 caliber machine gun or quad 40s. There'd be twin 40 machine, right? That's a heavy piece of equipment. The shells are huge, which I have a clip at home in a collection. That would take care of a lot of problems. Once you see the armored truck there, it's like a battle wagon. They knew that trouble's on the horizon. They wouldn't mess with you too much. But after that, then it subsided pretty much.
No, you worked on the convoys and the like, but you also told me before we went on the air that when you get into these various locations and the camps and the like, that you went on patrol
Correct.
at
Yep.
night outside the fence
Yep.
looking for Viet Cong and North Vietnamese.
Yeah, we had contact, but not as much as you see in the movies. That's Hollywood. You see a lot of fighting going on, but we usually go about a mile, 2 or 3 miles out of the perimeter, or even ammunition dump, which we had to guard too. That was a big thing. Ammunition dumps. These are huge. They had these big towers that were probably 45, 50 feet up, and we were way up there because you can overlook the perimeter that way at night. And we had concertina wire there, Claymore mines along the perimeter on the ammo dump, as well as cans that we improvised in the concertina wire, we fill them up with stones. And if anybody's coming through, they would rattle. And we had Claymore Mines that says, face toward enemy. Well, then they would do it. They would, if they get through, they would face them toward you.
They'd turn them around.
Turn them around. But these guys were good because they could go underneath a fence without getting scratched and come out the same direction. It was unbelievable.
Did you face normally the Viet Cong or North Vietnamese regulars?
VC, Viet Cong, yeah. And NVA, or North Vietnamese Army, were well disciplined and the best you could say as far as, how would you say, discipline, forward, they're going to fight, they're going to fight. Basically, they're going to fight, They were quite a team of guys, I just couldn't believe it. I never came across any NVA other than a couple pieces of paper I have, or actually paper money here, that were found on some of the dead adversaries on the Viet Cong. The VC are mostly down our area, whereas the North Vietnamese they were like the Saigon, big cities. During Tet Offensive, there was basically like their New Year's Day, like ours and Christmas, and that would they had a big push coming down through north, using the Ho Chi Minh Trail. We bombed the Ho Chi Minh Trail with B-52s and whatever, and they would have people filling up the holes and continue down the trail. It was basically unstoppable.
Now, you were saying that, being in an area where you can encounter combat at any time, it's not like you see in Hollywood where it's constant combat.
Yeah, right.
I've heard it's, boredom, and then a minute or two of just...
Sporadic contacts, yeah.
Tell me about the patrols you went on at night. How did you execute? How many men went out?
We usually had maybe half a dozen guys, We don't want to make too many because we make too many targets.
And what was your purpose in being out there?
Looking for any suspicious tunnels or weapons that we might come across, or other things of that nature that shouldn't be there. Anything that's unobserved, out of the ordinary, when you could put it that way. We did come across some equipment that was left behind after a previous firefight by somebody else that was out there, and some of the sandals laying there, and other personal effects are out there. But most of these guys, when they get hit, the Viet Cong get hit, they take their bodies away so you couldn't find how many were actually killed. Because I know back then, some of the armed forces over there were looking for body count. Body count was their big thing, body count. You may have won the battle, but you didn't win the war, is what some of the guys would say. It was a constant thing over there, But we were on patrol one time. I was telling you before about the big cat, the tiger incident.
Yes, talk about the tiger incident.
We were out there. It's getting
just
toward
during the daytime.
Dawn. It's getting toward dusk, because these guys like to hunt at night. And we were in some tall grass, maybe waist high, and probably approximately 40 or 50 feet from our position. I was second in lead, and the point man was ahead of us. And I was out there, and there, out of nowhere, comes this big tiger. He looked right at you. He kind of hissed a little bit, and made a growling noise. Where'd he come from? But I had my weapon on a prone position, on a full automatic, just in case he would decide to give a run for his money. Well, those cats could have had, at that distance, he could have had you in 2 steps.
How big was he?
I would say 350, 400 pounds. That's a good sized kitty cat. Nothing like growing. I didn't have the lamb chops for sale either. So, yeah. But they.
What happened?
He or she, whatever it was, just looked at us, gave us a stare down. We stood still, and made yourself contact. Look big. You don't frighten or run because they will set off their instinct. Their senses. He or she just kind of walked away and went to the bush. But remember one thing about this. Always remember, cats attack from the back.
Cats attack from the back.
Yeah, they like to come and ambush you. But that guy was basically gone, or the girl, whatever. So that particular cat was probably not hungry that day.
It must be awful frightening. A night patrol, it's dark.
Yeah.
How did you stay in contact with each other?
You didn't stay out. Well, the contact, as far as going on patrol, you had to keep visual every time. I mean, you don't let yourself go, yards away from each other, because somebody could get off and lose yourself easily.
People did get lost.
Oh yeah. My cousin, he got lost one time when he was in Chu Lai, up in the Maricel division. He got separated from his unit, and somehow he got back to his unit, but it was pretty frightening that day, you know, when he got lost, you know, out on patrol. It wasn't not much of a jungle. It was basically high grass.
When you were out on your night patrols, did you ever find what you were looking for? Did you ever run across any Viet Cong?
We heard a lot of firing going on in the distance, but not real visual contact, you know, at night. Because these guys were very, how do you say, very seducing. You know, they're quiet and very quick where they're going, you know, and they can also, you can walk right by them and you wouldn't see them. But if you ever did contact, well, of course, the lead guy would put up his fist and this would mean stop. Or if you want to go forward, you go this way. So if you had contact or something unusual in the perimeter or where you're walking, you would stop and freeze and try to visualize what might be out there. But we did have starlight scopes out there too. They would take the light from the moon or the stars, you know, the brightness, and you look through it. It's like looking through a telescope, and it would be green out there, but anything that was moving would be black, and that's how you can find your target then. See. So one time I was in a tower on a guard duty tower on ammo dump, and I had the starlight scope because I heard movement out there, and I called the lieutenant over and says I got movement on the perimeter because I'm way up in the tower up there. You're about 50 feet, you can see everything up there. So we had an azimuth in front of our position here on the tower. Your degrees this goes so many degrees this way, and that would be your area of fire concentration. And we had movement out there, and we had up in the tower, we had an M60 machine gun, your 14 or 16, whatever made a case, and also, what do you call it, M79 grenade launcher. It's like we call it a thump gun. The rounds are about so big, and you push the barrel down, you push the round in, cock it back, and go thump, like that. Well, that particular evening, there was movement out there, and I said, Lieutenant, I got movement out there, I'm gonna fire off 3 rounds. And he says, permission granted, so I lobbed 3 rounds out of the perimeter, and one was for close effect, one was for closer effect, and one was effective. So I got 3 of them. They're out there messing around. So I still got the shells at home yet, the casings.
Did you discover if there was anyone out there actually?
Well, we've seen a lot of, you know, human things, you know, blood stuff.
Remains?
You know, remains, you know. But like I said before, if they can take their bodies away, they'll try to take them away, you know, so you don't have no count on them. A lot of times you see trails. You try to find a trail, but give it up. It's not. They're gone. They're gone.
Would they try to come up through the concertina wire to get close to you almost every night, or is that just an occasional
sporadically?
thing?
Yeah, sporadically. But we did have an incident where 2 of them came through the door one time underneath the concertina wire, and on the back they had a rocket propellant grenade launcher, and it was. And then he had 1 round in the back, and then he carried this launcher, the whole rocket like an RPG rocket propellant grenade. It was like a long big rifle. You put the round in, and you slip it in, you can shoot it.
They still use them?
Oh, yes. Yeah, in Afghanistan, I believe they do. And these 2 individuals came underneath the wire, and they were basically naked. All they had was like a lion cloth on, you know, like a little piece of shorts, but they painted themselves all black so you couldn't see at night. They were really slick little guys.
How were they discovered and what happened?
Well, we had lights on our base camp, you know, and some of our lieutenants seen them, and he called in for fire, and he got them both.
Artillery?
No, just 45. The lieutenant was
his pistol?
Yes, sir.
They were that close to him?
Oh, yeah. They're, yeah. Sometimes they call them sappers, where they carry like a big pouch with dynamite or something, and they light a fuse and they throw it over the edge. Even if they got shot, they did a mission. Basically, just to harass you.
Were you afraid all day, every day? And night?
You know, back then, when you're 18 years old, you know, it really seemed to bother me much, you know, because you're young and daring. No fear. Because the military taught you to kill or be killed, see. You got to use that discipline in mind. Always keep thinking about that in your mind, you know, how that goes. But that's what I thought, you know. It didn't really bother me. When I came back, it didn't bother me nothing whatsoever, because I'm more or less a hardcore person, you know.
What were the living conditions like when you were out in the country?
We lived in a 4-man tent out there, and we had a mosquito cots, they call them, where you put the mosquito over your cot and tuck it underneath the mattress so any bugs don't get it, because the bugs over there will carry malaria. I do have this little malaria capsule right here, and we carried those pills in there. They're orange pills. You take them daily. One time I did come across a little touch of malaria, that particular one.
You did,
particular
and
day.
that's awful.
It's awful, exactly. And we had other insects that would infiltrate our living quarters. We had scorpions over there. We had centipedes, snakes.
Anybody get bit?
No, fortunately not. Because what we were taught in the military, pay attention to your surroundings, day in, day out, minute by minute, day by day, whatever. But we did have rats in there. So what we did, we found a python out in the bush, a big one. And we used him for a pet. This guy was about 7 foot long. Took 3 of us guys to pick him up. He had a girth like so, and we put them in a box in the middle of our tent. And we played with the guy. You know, he made him into a pet. But the important thing is, we never ate any rats because he got them.
So did he kind of just crawl around on his own?
Yeah.
Did you let him out there? And he never attacked any of you?
No, not at all.
Because they're very, very dangerous,
Oh, yes,
I
they are.
understand.
Yeah, they are. You got to know how to handle them. You know, you don't rush into them and pick them up real fast because you'll constrict. You know, you got to move real slow as you pick them up. So us guys, we just let them move around. And when we had to leave the tent, we put them back in the box and locked
at
them
night
up.
while you were sleeping?
Locked them up, yes, yeah. Only during daytime we let them out. But one time we had a nice parrot up there. It was a green emerald.
Parrot?
Yeah, green, emerald green, yellow head, red on top. It was one of our pets who we improvised. You know, one day he was gone. The snake got him.
Before you taught him to speak, I
The
suppose.
poor guy, yeah. He didn't say probably nothing because he was gone.
How many people were in the camp? What was the food like?
It was, well, we had a mess hall in the area too. We had to go travel to get the mess hall, but it was good food, you know.
You had to travel to get to the mess hall?
Yeah, for a while, yeah.
What's a while? Or was it a mile away? Or
Yeah, about a mile away. Yeah.
You drove?
Yeah, you drive a Jeep
walk?
or a 3/4 ton truck or whatever. And then sometimes they would have a little party in our camp, you know, and of course everybody got, you know, drunk. Trying to pass time away.
Is this some of the beer that you drank over
Yeah,
there?
we call it Tiger, whatever. I can't say it. Yeah.
Was it anything like our American
No,
beer?
it tastes awful. If you look in the back of the bottle, there's also a French marking on it too, French and Vietnamese. That I found laying by a village, a mountain yard village. Mountain yards are equivalent to our like Native American over here. They were neutral. They didn't fight with the Vietcong or the NVA. They were neutral people.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived in thatch huts, and also they were built on stilts above the ground because of the rain. And you had to climb up a ladder to get into their huts.
Now, the Montagnards, or as you said, natives
Yeah.
who fought on our side,
Yeah, they were good
many
people.
of whom I understand immigrated to the United
correct,
States,
yes.
and many of them, there are Montagnards living in Wisconsin here,
That's right.
especially, I believe, in the La Crosse area.
Yep,
Is that
sir.
correct?
That's right. That's correct. Yeah.
And they were basically afraid of the communists, and you keep hearing that they were very good fighters
Yes, they
in
were.
Vietnam.
Yes, we went through a village one time, and in order to get initiates friendly, you had to go up in the chief's hut and drink their rice wine. Whew. It was an urn, big urn with a long straw. It tasted awful, but you had to do it, and then you were considered a friendly.
Was it pretty potent stuff?
Oh yeah, it was bad. You had to discipline yourself. Don't drink too much. Because remember, you got to keep out. We got to leave. Go on our duty. You can't sit there and get bombed. Over rice wine.
You are listening and watching our tribute to veterans here on WBEV and DailyDodge.com. We're talking to Bob Krieger, who served in Vietnam. And as you can see, we have many artifacts here that Bob managed to get back to the United States. I think part of the story is how he managed to do all of this, get it back here. And we're going to talk about some of these artifacts that he brought back with him. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more right after these messages.
In this day and age, it seems that we're becoming more and more consumed with things. Between the latest technology gadgets and devices, we're finding ourselves drowning in things. These items do serve a purpose, but at the end of the day, experiences and memories with friends and loved ones is really what counts. Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services and Mayflower Cruises and Tours have paired up to help you create these lasting memories free extended tour travel presentation on Monday, November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark. To learn more about these amazing and affordable trips, spend 10 nights at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island for the Holland Tulip Festival, or enjoy an Alaskan adventure cruise. If you're longing to cross the Atlantic and voyage down Europe's Danube River, find out how you can make your dream come true. Come learn about these and many more trips November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark in Beaver Dam. Learn how you can create lasting memories through travel.
The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're near retirement. Your Edward Jones financial advisor, Richard Greep, can help you prepare for what lies ahead. Stop by his office at 203 Corporate Drive in Beaver Dam. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC. From the office of Richard Greep to our veterans, their thoughts are with the brave men and women serving our country and the ones who have served before them.
It always seems hard to find the time to take care of some of those things that we put off. This is Beth from Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services. Planning for your funeral is probably not on your list of favorite things to do, but in so many ways, it is a real gift to those you leave behind. When you pre-plan your funeral, your loved ones will not have to worry. They won't have to guess at what your wishes might have been because you've taken care of all the details ahead of time. Pre-planning is as simple as visiting with us and telling us what your wishes are. We are here to help you through the process. Jerry Henkes, Tricia Schweiger, and John Lighting, along with Russ, Josh, and Dan Kepsel, and myself, Beth Kepsel-Ziemer, we're the Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services, with funeral homes in Beaver Dam, Mayville, Horicon, Reesville, and Columbus, and we are here to help.
We see that the ag industry is changing, and we know you already have enough surprises to deal with. So we thought you'd like a heads up. We're building a new NK Seeds. Mark your calendars. 2019 is a new day.
But meanwhile, ask your local NK retailer about S20J5X soybeans. This variety out-yielded Asgrow products by 1.9 bushels per acre. Visit nksoyyields.com.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center reminds you that if you need a wood splitter, you'll find tractor-mounted and stationary wood splitters. For all that snow removal this winter, Huff's Repair has the Western and Henniker snow plows and plows for trucks and skid steers. Huff's Repair Center, 717 South Center Street, Beaver Dam, saluting all of our veterans.
This Veterans Day, American Bank celebrates and honors America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. We ask you to join us in taking a moment to honor those who have served our country, as well as those currently serving for their courage and sacrifice. Happy Veterans Day to all from the entire staff at American Bank, proud supporters of the men and women serving our country, past and present, member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Join us for a spaghetti fundraiser co-sponsored by BDACT and Praise Assembly Church to help fund resurfacing of their shared parking lot. Sunday, November 11th from 4 to 7 at Bayside Supper Club. $10 single, $30 family tickets at Rechex or at the door.
Listen to WBEV online anytime at dailydodge.com. Brought to you by Beaver Dam Piggly Wiggly.
Welcome back to our special Veterans Tribute program here on WBEV. We're also on dailydodge.com. You can listen to us on our live stream on dailydodge.com, or you can watch us on the video tab as well. We're talking to Bob Krieger, who spent a year in Vietnam, and as you can see that he's got many artifacts that he brought back with him. By the way, we want to thank our sponsors for this afternoon's program: Edward Jones, Richard Greep, Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services, Huff's Repair Center, American Bank, Kepsel Murray Funeral Home, and Horicon Bank. Well, we have some things that we want to show the people, but I want to ask you first, Bob, what was the most frightening experience you had there? What was the moment when you were most afraid?
Well, one night we got attacked by rockets and occasionally about 122 millimeter rockets and one mortar rounds that came in our compound. And as you can see here, I got
I'll hold it up.
You know,
Now,
look,
this is shrapnel.
That's shrapnel.
This is a box full of shrapnel,
Yes.
and shrapnel is what's emitted when a bomb goes off.
That's
All
correct.
kinds of iron and
Yep.
things fly off.
Right.
Now, when I thought of shrapnel, I thought it was these little things here. This would be a piece of shrapnel.
That's correct.
But look at this. This is a piece of shrapnel, and that must weigh 2 pounds.
At least.
At least.
Yeah, I dug that out. As soon as it got hit, it was still glowing yet in the hole, which shows a photograph over there. The circumference of that hole is huge.
Here's a photograph of the hole that
on the bottom picture, yeah.
Artillery round. It was an artillery round.
122 millimeter rocket.
Fired by the Viet Cong.
Yes, by the VC, yeah. They fired from a tripod.
And that's you looking into the hole.
That's one of my friends looking at the hole. I took
okay.
a photograph.
All right. But that's where that hunk of shrapnel came
That's
from.
correct, yeah.
And that flies all over and kills people and
Yes,
wounds
sir.
people.
Well, during that attack, I saved the guy's life because he stood there. He was shocked. So I jumped on him and put him on the ground and covered him up my body in case he would have got hit. Well, fortunately, nothing happened, because the shrapnel always, if you lay low, it's going to go up, always goes up. It don't go ground level. It always goes up like a mushroom. Well, they're going to put me in for a award on that or accommodation like a Bronze Star, but I never received it, which don't mean nothing to me because it's just another piece of metal to me. I just went over and did my job.
How many rounds did you take in that particular attack? How many shells did they fire?
Probably about a good dozen of them, all over the compound. Yeah.
And when you watch this, the Hollywood stuff, it comes in real fast. Was this sporadic? Did it come in all at one time, or how did that occur?
Intervals, basic intervals, yeah. And when you can hear like the rockets coming in, you can hear them hissing nowhere. I thought, oh boy, here we go.
The RPGs?
Yes, the 122 millimeters. Where the shrapnel is from right here.
Okay.
That's what came in. That was like a what you call like a rocket, noise when it comes in. It makes a lot of afterburner effect noise, or hissing noise, and you know you're getting clobbered. So we had to get down there, and the else sound the alert of the camp they would have a siren go off, when there's being attacked, by the enemy forces out there. So everybody would grab their gear, run for the perimeter to defend in case we had overrun. And we never had any problems overrunning, but we did have contact out there when they come in. They kept their distance. They never come in like you see on John Wayne, the Green Beret, where they'll come over the fence.
Right.
We never had that stuff, but nevertheless, you had to go out there and grab your gear as fast as possible. If you had your boots on, or if you couldn't get your boots, you had to get out there perimeter as quickly as you could, and keep your position in case.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Were there any casualties in that particular shell?
Nobody got hit. Just nobody got hit at all. And that one guy that I saved over there, he just was ecstatic. He just freaked out.
In other words, he heard the first rounds come in. Instead of getting down, he just
stood there.
Stood there.
I jumped on him and put him down on the ground. They did like a football maneuver, down in the ground as low as you can go. So, but that saved his life too.
Where were the people from that you served with over there? All around the country, from the Midwest, or how would you describe that?
All over the country, John. All over the states. We have one good friend over there. We call him Gomer Pyle because he sounds just like Gomer Pyle in there, and he was a real string guy, and he was from Kentucky, area. And not long after I got out of Vietnam, I went over and seen him personally, and he showed me all the goodies up in the hills, all the moonshiners, because
Down in
that was their
Kentucky?
country. Yes, that was their country over there. Oh, they're all abandoned though, But he was an industrial art teacher, at the time.
Do you have reunions?
No, not at all.
You belong to an organization though in Hartford.
Yeah, called the United Vietnam Veterans of Hartford, and they've been established in 1981.
How many people do you have?
Oh gosh,
involved in that?
If you come to the meetings, probably like 10, maybe 12 at a meeting, which is pretty good nowadays. There's probably 25, 30, maybe more guys. But we lost a lot of guys over time too because of health problems. They passed on.
Did you lose any friends over in Vietnam that were casualties?
Nope, not at all.
You didn't?
No. Like I said before, when you're over there, you don't want to get so close to everybody. You try to get a borderline how close you want to get to the guys, as far as friends, because if you lose them, then you're going to probably freak out and break up, So you got to treat everybody as an individual, and as far as it goes,
I'd like to talk about some more of the items that you brought.
Yeah.
This is, it looks to me like an ammunition belt.
Yeah, there's probably ammunition still in there yet.
That was worn by a Viet Cong.
Viet Cong, yeah.
How did you get this?
Well, when we found that stuff, we found some bodies one time out there, and they were still there yet, which was unfortunately. Well, I just took it right off for souvenirs. Everybody would take souvenirs, but also on the second hand, you got to be careful because sometimes the souvenirs would be out there would be booby trapped. That was part of our training. So make sure that it was attached like wires or any other implications. Same like rounds, artillery rounds, that'll be out because more likely they're going to be detonated, upon contact.
How did you get all of this stuff back here to the States?
Easily, one box at a time.
And there's no problem. It was totally legal doing that.
No, back then, no, because a lot of guys sent their stuff back whole baggage, which means they give you a big crate and sent by compliments of the USA. But when it got to Cameron Bay, they had to go through it and make sure there was no weapons in, like AK-47 or SKS, weapons. And a lot of times when it got their whole baggage home, stuff that was not to be taken out would be gone. They'd be losing, like maybe stuff that they wore or souvenirs would be gone. Whoever did all the snooping down there would take all their stuff and probably took it home for themselves. But,
anybody who's seen documentaries or movies about Vietnam has seen these.
Ho Chi Minh sandals.
And what is that made out of?
That's a tire.
And
made a tire.
It's thick like a tire, so
yeah, that's what we call them. Yep, we call them tiger paws. You can see the ribs on the bottom yet. Still a tire.
Right.
Yeah, I lost that one overseas. I lost.
You
right
actually, this was your pair.
Yeah.
It used to be a pair.
Used to be a pair.
But you lost one. How'd you lose it?
In a river.
You were walking along and it got stuck in the mud.
We got stuck in the house, goofing around, and it got stuck in the mud.
How did you come across these?
I went downtown, bought them.
Oh, okay.
Downtown, yeah.
Downtown Cameron Bay?
No, Pleiku.
Pleiku? I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, it was like 5 miles away from our base. And that was my original jungle boot right there.
This is your boot?
That's my boot.
How comfortable or uncomfortable were these boots?
They weren't bad. Now, if you look on the side of the boot there, John, you see little holes that let the water out.
Okay.
Little holes. Yeah, and those boots were supposed to be protected against these guys.
Now, this is a
punji stick.
Well, people can see what it is, but it's a very thin slice of bamboo.
Correct.
And how did the Vietnamese deploy these?
Well, you would dig a hole. We call them tiger pits. They dig a hole, and they camouflage with branches or foliage. And if you happen to walk in them, they would either put human excrement on or animal excrement on the edge of this here. And if you got stuck with it, guess what happens? Because of humidity, it would cause gangrene.
No matter how quickly you treated it or what you did?
You tried your best, let's put it that way. And other times they would put steel shanks buried in a pit. And if you step on them, it would be harder, like barbs, like a spear.
So this was an actual stick that you found in one of the, what did you call them, tiger pits?
Yeah, tiger pits, small.
Tiger pit.
Or big pits, or just something to get your foot in or your whole body, for that matter.
This is a U.S. issue flashlight.
That's correct.
It's red.
Yeah, there's different lenses for different things to recognize with. Yeah.
Did you carry this one?
Yeah.
This was yours?
On your flakjack, yeah.
Okay.
I had a flakjack weighed several pounds, I think it was just heavy,
There are a number of flags here. We can't show them all, but I'll pick this one up, and maybe you can explain. Oh, well, here are a couple of them here. A small one.
That was upside down.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
It's a tiger. Like I said, the Vietnamese over there like symbolic animals, and tiger's one of the biggest ones. They like tigers and water buffalo.
Did you buy this as well?
Yeah, that I got. Yeah, over there. Souvenirs.
And I think, is this a Vietnamese flag?
That's a Viet Cong flag.
Viet Cong.
Yeah.
How did you recover this?
Very carefully. Yeah.
Where did you find it? How did you find it?
That was out on one of our patrols too, laying there in the field, and some off one of the descendants.
of someone who had been deceased.
Right. Now, those flags would commence a lot of money in today's market as far as a military show is concerned, or a fleet, or, you go to these military shows, and these collectors would go nuts with this stuff, big time.
And these are huge shows. I've been to a couple of them, and there might be 50 or 100 people displaying various artifacts from all the different wars. And I, to be honest with you, had never seen a North Vietnamese flag or a Vietnamese flag like that.
Yeah, the next one there, John, is a Vietnam. This is Vietnamese flag, period. That's their country flag.
South Vietnam.
Yes. Yeah, that's their flag. It's got the red stripes.
Saigon.
Yeah.
And Pleiku.
Yep.
Kontum.
Yep.
And Dak To.
Yep. All different things.
And that's a South Vietnamese
That's their state flag, basically, yes.
Okay.
And then next one over there, John, if you see that black flag was their chaplain flag.
A what flag?
Chaplain. We had chaplain over there too, priest, pastors.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a stick from there. From
Now,
their
what
flag.
is that stick?
They call it a tiger stick. This is a short timer stick, like the British would carry in your armpits, like this. It's a symbolic thing.
And the priest carried that?
Yeah.
Or?
It says on your father Crennan from this day on you will be without this tiger stick in your possession. He had it symbolized on here, but this is made of bamboo, so he had a
Okay.
little rubber, a little leather on here.
What is? Oh, this is
That's a
flare.
yeah, that's a handheld flare. Yeah, you can.
That's a U.S. issue.
That's correct. And if you once it's loaded, the parachute will be inside. It had a little firing mechanism in the bottom there, and you would take your palm of your hand, you would hit it, and it would shoot up in the air on the perimeter, and that parachute would eliminate orange iridescent color out there.
Oh.
To eliminate the perimeter for maybe 10, 15 seconds, just to get something out there you could see. Visual contact, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right,
then-
we talked about the beer already.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a U.S. bomblet.
Bouncing Betty, they call them, yeah. They dropped hundreds of those, and once they impact, they would shoot out little, like, shrapnel, like razor pieces, like metal. And if you get caught in there, you won't probably survive.
They
They'll cut
were
you up.
on contact with the ground.
Correct, yeah.
They would
Yeah,
explode.
this is
Now,
the- yeah.
my understanding is they'd be encased in a larger container and then
Yeah,
dropped and
out.
then spread all
Spread
over the
yeah.
place and explode.
Come in low profile and let her go down.
You saw the B-52s make their runs, and you heard it.
Heard them overseas, yep. Mhm.
Did the ground actually shake, or were you?
Oh,
able
yeah,
to-
yeah. We're about 20 some miles from the Cambodian border, That's pretty close. And once those hit, you're talking about these aircraft are up for probably 29,000, 30,000 feet, and when those bombs hit, they're going to come down and make a lot of racket.
Were you ever in a situation where they called in fighter jets to
No.
to strafe and things
No,
like
not
that, or
there, yeah.
napalm? Did you ever see napalm?
I see napalm, yes, yeah. First thing I got when Camera Bay, there was also an attack on the mountains up there ready. Already action. These are some of the little berets that were worn by the South Vietnamese Army. That's an airborne ranger beret.
Okay.
And this guy here was wearing by the workers over there, the Papasans, out in the field.
Very light.
Oh yeah, it's made of bamboo. You can see the intricate design inside there, how it's made. And also some of the adversaries would wear those too. They're basically waterproof, and they're very light. Yeah, that was their.
And they're bamboo. It's
yeah.
bamboo, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's all bamboo.
All woven bamboo.
Yeah. And these here are leaves that I bought back from there. Probably the only guy in this country has a leaf.
Whoa.
Oops.
Excuse me.
That's all right.
But there are some leaves in there, and what are these checkered things?
That was part of a basket, piece of basket that we found in one of the mountain yard villages. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to set some of this on the ground so
That's
I don't
fine.
collapse it
And,
any more of it.
And this guy here is.
You can hold it up.
Okay. This guy here is from the mountain yard village. It's a smoking pipe made of bamboo, and this is also made of a light wood, probably teak wood or some sort. It was carved out and burnt, the design in it.
Were you personally friends with any of the mountain
Oh
yards?
yeah, definitely, yeah.
We should explain what this is. This is a 50 caliber shell that would have been shot out of a 50 caliber machine gun.
Correct.
But it's all dented up with a piece of it looks like another bullet.
Round hit that one. As they ejected out of 50 caliber, another round hit that shell casing, and it went ping. I heard something go ping, and I looked on the ground, and I found it.
So the Vietnamese were shooting at you,
right?
And we were firing back with this 50 caliber, and as it was ejected from the machine gun and flying through the air, basically, it got hit by a Vietnamese round.
No, what chances are that? You can see that as the shell was this way, coming out, you can see the direction of the bullet coming from the outside.
That's the actual Vietnamese bullet in there that's stuck in there right here. If you can get that, Justin.
I took that to a lot of military shows, and people went bananas over it. They wanted to buy it, for a souvenir. I says, no, you ain't got enough money for it.
It's an extremely, it's something that you...
This is a drinking cup from the North Vietnamese. Drinking cup. It's the only one I found.
I saw a shot glass like that in jail one time.
Didn't have a star on it.
No, but this is does this collapse onto itself?
Yeah.
Can I do that,
Sure.
or I don't want to wreck anything?
No.
So you pull this
It's made
out.
for compact, for a compact situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it pulls out.
Yeah.
Well, like that. There you go.
Simple, improvise.
It's enough for a good Southern comfort in there.
Well, you can do that if you want.
Old-fashioned.
This is another big pipe that was made over there from the Mountain Yard Village. That's a bigger pipe. So, made
Wow.
of bamboo. Yeah, it's a monster.
You pull a lot of smoke through that baby.
Oh yes, oh yeah, a lot of smoke.
What else do you have there?
And then these are arrows. I didn't bring my crossbow because the crossbow is like this big, you know. These are the arrows that were used in there by the mountain yard people. This is their hunting equipment. When I bought the crossbow back, it still had the string attached. It was pretty strong, and I shot this thing. It was stuck in the wall. That's how much velocity this thing had. And these are basically used for small game, not tigers either. But they would tip this with poison sometime. You know, shoot at the monkeys up there or lizards, whatever around there.
And they use crossbows, you said?
Oh, yeah, crossbow,
And
yeah.
crossbows are becoming very popular
Yeah.
here for,
Yeah.
well, the deer hunting season is coming
Yeah,
up and the archery season is open.
Mhm.
So people are using that type of weaponry right now, although on a much more modern basis, I
and
would
it's
imagine.
a very simple construction. It's bamboo, you know.
Very
shoot
light.
And oh yeah, I can feel it. Yeah, it's just
extremely light.
Yeah,
It's like
they're-
a feather.
Yeah, they all walk around in the village or out in the bush with just this here weapon here, and that's it. That's all they walked around with. Very light and quick to travel.
How did you communicate with the Montagnards?
Carefully.
You obviously didn't speak their language, or maybe you did learn it. I don't
Well,
know.
most of the yards out there would actually talk good English from previous people that were there. You know, from
Mm.
previous engagements from other troops.
Okay.
They picked up really fast.
They speak any French? Because the French were there before
Yeah,
we
they
were.
did that too. You know. But anything, if we had any stuff in the campsite that were junk, like old metal or something, we'd take it out to the village, and they would improvise and use that for shelter. They never waste nothing, those people. And this guy here is our short timer stick, they call it. When you're short time in country from, let's say, weeks, days, or a couple of months, you carry this with you. They knew that you'll be leaving pretty shortly. This is made with, I don't know what kind of wood this is here, but it's got actual pearl for eyeballs.
Pearl eyes.
Pearl eyes, real pearl, natural pearl.
And who did you purchase that somewhere, or somebody make it for you?
No,
or-
they were made down. They're from downtown.
Downtown,
Yeah,
okay.
no,
And,
these people are good carvers. You know, the
Yeah,
Vietnamese.
that is hand carved, and it's very intricate. The head of it.
Right.
I don't know if we can get a shot of that. Very intricate carving. Now you're going by a picture there that we definitely we don't want to bypass. This is a picture
Yeah.
of you.
That's a picture of me. Yeah.
Okay, and is that a picture of you as well? Maybe
Yep.
we can hold them up together, and Justin can get it. This
Oh.
is when Bob was 18 years old in Vietnam. One of them, you're holding an M14, which
Yes,
is
sir.
the rifle you used most of the time.
Yep.
And the other one, what are you holding there?
That one's you got an M60 machine gun over there.
Oh, I have the M60.
Yeah, you got the
Okay.
M60. Yeah,
And
this
you
is
have the M14.
M14. And the other side of this photograph is a APC carrier, armored personnel carrier, that was used over there. And one time we got hit by a rocket-propelled grenade, which hit the side of the vehicle right there. So they welded it up, patched the hole up, and then they put blood coming down here, like little red's blood. It
Somebody painted it on.
says, painted it on, and it says, try again. They missed you. That's me standing here with my outfit on. My sunglasses look like a Hollywood guy, of course. You know.
Yeah, sure.
But these also are situated with two 50 caliber machine guns on top.
It's hard to imagine with the situation you were in. I mean, your life is in danger every single day. How did you manage to find humor in anything?
You improvised. We go out and have a couple of cans of beer. You know, what do you call Black Label at the time, maybe. You know, Falstaff. You know, good drink.
Any old Milwaukee over there?
I don't recall. I don't think I had Milwaukee at the time, but we did have Black Label. I know that. For the steel cans, you know, you flip it open, you know, or no, you take your can
The
opener.
can openers,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have one at home actually, out of a 50 caliber slug that we use for can opening of beer. That was how our humor was, and we also had road trips where you go and see some of the local bands over, like Roy Acuff was over one time, and Bob Hope.
Roy Acuff, a famous country singer.
Yes, sir. He was there, and I seen him. I missed Bob Hope by maybe by a day.
Oh.
He was in that area too. And what was interesting that I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but some of the tunnels that they had made years ago were underneath where he was singing. You know,
When Bob Hope was
the complex. You know, I go, what are you talking about?
Wow.
I don't know if that was true or not, but that's what I heard. You know, could be just rumor. But these guys here are called leaflets. They're dropped by aircraft.
U.S. aircraft.
Yeah, C-46 or C-47 aircraft, Douglas C-46 or C-47. They would drop them off in a box full. So the guy would sit by the doorway and have a box full of these leaflets. He'd take them and throw them out and look like confetti coming down or snow. And these are dropping the perimeter all over the country. And they still use this today, the leaflets. They're called psychological warfare.
By the way, if you're listening on WBEV and you'd like to see what we're showing here, you can go to Daily Dodge, dailydodge.com, click on the video tab, and we're on the air this afternoon, live.
This magazine they issued us to when we left, called Tour 365, and if you're looking back in the magazine, John, you'll see everybody boarding we call it the Freedom Bird. That means we're out of here. We're going home, you know. So that was nice.
Well, tell me about the countdown. Now, back in the Vietnam days, you served a tour of 365 days, correct?
Right,
And you
correct.
started counting down from day one.
Yeah, we had a calendar in our hooch, you know, we called it hooch, with numbers on it. And some people had ladies on there on the calendar, or some had animals on, some had Snoopy on it, you know, all different kind of things. I got it home in my collection, and we just exit off and get down, and the bottom would say, we're out of here, the bottom of the last day, you know.
So when does the countdown, personally for you, when did you start thinking, you know, I'm getting short here?
90, 60 days, 60, 90 days, whatever, you know, it was getting down.
How did you keep track of them?
By exiting off all my dates real carefully. And one time my mom sent me a bunch of cookies in the mail, came to our compound, you know, cutout cookies, you know. I thought, oh my, this is a really treat. You know,
sugar cookies, basically.
Yeah, and they didn't get broken either.
They came all the way through without getting broken, and they're very fragile.
Yeah. Well, I know, but you haven't packed carefully, you know. This magazine here was issued over there, too. They're called Uptight magazines. If you see this in front, there's a Cobra gunship. These guys were, they held on the side of these pods 2.75 rockets on each side of the tripod, or the pods here. And they could really do some devastation damage. It would take two guys, a pilot and a gunner, to control the amounts of firepower to the enemy. I see them all the time. I got movies at home, and when I took the movies of these guys, of course I had a Super 8 projector, you know, movie camera, right? So when you pan these guys going overhead, on the screen it looks like they're going like a jet. And you know, back then there wasn't that much technology. But in the back of this here is our Commander-in-Chief, General Westmoreland. He was our big 5-star general at the time. And when I got out of the military, I found when he was located. He was located in either North or South Carolina, and I called him up personally.
You did?
Yes. And
you called Westmoreland personally?
Yeah.
To discuss what?
Just talk military, and he said, you guys did a darn good job over there, you know, and we feel proud of it, you know.
He took your call?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
How long did you spend on the phone with him?
10, 15 minutes maybe. But he was at his house, not in the Pentagon, you know. He was retired then, you know.
So somebody picked the phone up. Who picked the phone up when
He
you
did.
called? He did?
Directly, yeah.
And what were your first words? How did you identify
Good
yourself?
afternoon, sir. You got to respect your elders. No, I had a good chat with the guy, and we talked about where I was located. He says, we all did a good job. You should feel proud of it, and that's what we did. You know, we did our job, and what more can you say, you know?
We are going to continue this very interesting conversation with Bob Krieger, who served in Vietnam. Was it 68 and 69?
That's correct.
You said?
Yeah.
And we're going to, when we come back, we're going to talk more about the politics of the time, what the soldiers in Vietnam thought about that, how they felt on their arrival home, and how it affected Bob personally, whether his experiences over there that he brought back with him here had any kind of an impact on him. So stay tuned to our Veterans Tribute right here on AM 1430 WBEV, also on dailydodge.com. Click on the video tab and you'll find us there. We'll be back after these words.
In this day and age, it seems that we're becoming more and more consumed with things. Between the latest technology gadgets and devices, we're finding ourselves drowning in things. These items do serve a purpose, but at the end of the day, experiences and memories with friends and loved ones is really what counts. Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services and Mayflower Cruises and Tours have paired up to help you create these lasting memories through travel. Join the free extended tour travel presentation on Monday, November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark. To learn more about these amazing and affordable trips, spend 10 nights at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island for the Holland Tulip Festival, or enjoy an Alaskan adventure cruise. If you're longing to cross the Atlantic and voyage down Europe's Danube River, find out how you can make your dream come true. Come learn about these and many more trips November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark in Beaver Dam. Learn how you can create lasting memories through travel.
Your 401k is likely one of your most important assets. Edward Jones can help you understand how your retirement assets fit into your entire retirement picture. Visit Richard Greep, your Beaver Dam Edward Jones financial advisor at 203 Corporate Drive. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC. From the Office of Richard Greep to our veterans, they give thanks on this day that they live in a free nation. They honor those who helped achieve this blessing.
It always seems hard to find the time to take care of some of those things that we put off. This is Beth from Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services. Planning for your funeral is probably not on your list of favorite things to do, but in so many ways, it is a real gift to those you leave behind. When you pre-plan your funeral, your loved ones will not have to worry. They won't have to guess at what your wishes might have been because you've taken care of all the details ahead of time. Pre-planning is as simple as visiting with us and telling us what your wishes are. We are here to help you through the process. Jerry Henkes, Tricia Schweiger, and John Lighting, along with Russ, Josh, and Dan Kepsel, and myself, Beth Kepsel-Ziemer, we're the Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services, with funeral homes in Beaver Dam, Mayville, Horicon, Reeseville, and Columbus, and we are here to help.
Welcome to the Buck Hunter Show. I'm Buck Hunter, and I am one. Let's go to the phones.
Hey, Buck, I've decided not to retire from hunting. I'm going to go in the field once again.
I'll let the deer know. They love a good laugh. Next caller.
Look, is Pernitz a place to go during the gun deer season for quality processing?
You got it. For over 36 years, Pernitz has been the go-to place for all your venison processing needs. Processing starts at $65 with hide credit. This includes skinning, cutting, wrapping, and freezing. You'll enjoy award-winning products including 9 varieties of hot sticks and summer sausage. Also wieners, cheddar wurst, bologna, brats, and so much more. Try the new cheesy, sweet, and hot chili mix. Drop off your deer at Pernit Hazy Meats Juneau, Pernit Premium Meats in Johnson Creek, and Pernit's of Ixonia in Ixonia. No after-hours drop-offs, please. They're your deer donation location as well. Find out more at Pernitz.com.
This Veterans Day, American Bank celebrates and honors America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. We ask you to join us in taking a moment to honor those who have served our country, as well as those currently serving for their courage and sacrifice. Happy Veterans Day to all from the entire staff at American Bank, proud supporters of the men and women serving our country, past and present, member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center reminds you that if you need a wood splitter, you'll find tractor-mounted and stationary wood splitters. For all that snow removal this winter, Huff's Repair has the Western and Henniker snow plows and plows for trucks and skid steers. Huff's Repair Center, 717 South Center Street, Beaver Dam, saluting all of our veterans.
Listen to WBEV online anytime at dailydodge.com. Brought to you by Beaver Dam Piggly Wiggly.
This is our tribute to veterans. You're listening on AM 1430 WBEV. We're also being videocast and audiocast on our website, dailydodge.com. And a very special thank you to our sponsors for this afternoon's program, Horicon Bank, also the American Bank Kepsel Murray Funeral Home, Huff's Repair Center, Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services, and Edward Jones, Richard Greep. And we're talking now to Bob Krieger. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking to a gentleman who served our country during World War II in the Navy, Bill Schneider. And after that, we're going to be talking to a Korean War veteran from Horicon, John Jensen. I don't know, maybe you know John.
Heard of him.
He runs the health food store. Over
sure.
there. So he's going to join us. But right now we want to continue our conversation with Bob. And before we get into the politics and all of the things that went along those lines during your service in Vietnam and after, let's talk a little bit about this. This is some dirt.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the mud.
From where?
Vietnam itself, right in Pleiku. I bought a bottle of this back here from over there, and it's basically like a red clay. Once it gets wet, you get stuck. A lot of our vehicles got stuck in this stuff, you know.
When it gets wet, it gets extremely sticky.
Like gumbo.
Schmeary.
Yeah, schmeary. If you get on your uniform or your boots, it'll stain your uniform unless you get it washed right away or something like that. But I bought some soil back from Cameron Bay and Quinyon when it came back here, sand from the beach.
Well, let's talk about your arrival home. What city did you come into? Did you fly into?
We came in Fort Lewis, Washington, over there.
Were you greeted there?
No, nothing.
Nobody around?
Nobody around.
Now, some of the Vietnam veterans that I've spoken to have said that there were protesters there throwing things at them and the like.
Yeah, they call them guys different names, some I can't mention on the air, but there were a lot of derogative remarks,
You did not run into any of that when you came back?
No.
Did you find any of that when you got back home?
When I got back home, back then, basically what you did is put your uniform away. You don't want to be seen because of all the stuff that's going on in the country at this time.
When you had leave and the like, even when you were in basic training, came home for leave, you wouldn't wear a uniform on.
Well, actually, I did. From Fort Gordon, Georgia, and from West Virginia, or actually Virginia, through EIT, because when you went on the aircraft, you got a discount. You went to go on standby to call it. So when you're in the military, you got to show them either ID or your uniform back then. So I was no contact with any protesters on my way to and from my military leaves.
Did you wear a uniform when you were on leave in Horicon? And those were the days of the minor bars.
Yeah.
When you were 18 and you could drink beer, basically.
Yeah. I didn't wear it. No, I just wore my skivvies, my shorts, and that was it.
So you really never felt any of the personal attacks. Nobody ever came up to you and called you any of those derogatory names or anything.
Horicon being a small town, it wasn't like if you're living in California, with like San Francisco or the bigger places like that. We didn't have nothing that was indicated any kind of observance or in Horicon or any small town that were against the war. They knew about it, but there was nobody on the streets with their banners or all that stuff like you see in the bigger cities.
Did you feel appreciated for the service that you gave?
It was kind of like a ghost. You were there, but you weren't there. It didn't. Nobody talked about it at the time. Because if you told me you were a veteran or something like that, or from Vietnam, they'll look at you kind of funny at first, but they wouldn't say anything that was derogative to you. It was just semi-emotional, basically.
Now, that's changed over the years.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And tell me about your feelings about that.
Well, it's great. We had a program actually this morning at the Dodgen High School. The color guard came in from the Lowell area and other places. And the students, we had a light up along the wall, actually. And all these kids come in from our left flank. And I bet you about 200 or 300 we handshaked. My hand was starting to get worn out. With all these kids, all different sizes and stuff, and it was just really nice. It was nice that they see that, and it was very appreciative. I guess the country right now is doing a lot great better than it used to be years ago. 10, 15, 20 years ago or more, and now they appreciate what the guys did. All services, all branches.
With the night patrols you did, with the daytime patrols you did, with the shelling that you took, with seeing the deceased Vietnamese and like, you have some memories. Did you bring any of those back with you that maybe would bother you?
No, not at all. Because when I was in the military, they disciplined you and they made you hardcore, basically. You do your job and that was it. Don't try to let the emotions, get in your way if you could. You had to be pretty self-sufficient.
But you did tell me that after you got back, you slept with something under your pillow. Tell us.
Oh, that part, yeah. I had a big knife, actually. It was like a Rambo knife, basically, and I slept under, with that all the time. But it was only for a little while until you basically try to put it aside or something.
Did loud noises set you off?
Yeah. The thing I remember over there was the crickets. They're these loud bugs that put you to sleep, Every time I hear the crickets, I think about over there, the crickets, it's like a music.
How often do you think about your service in Vietnam?
No, it comes and goes every day, basically. Things, sights and scenes, smells maybe, or sounds, Especially my friends will say during 4th of July, that's a real waker-upper, You hear all these bombs going off, these
fireworks,
and these shells that go kaboom, the real good ones make a lot of noise. And I know I've got a couple of friends that say, Hey, does that remind you? Well, yeah, it reminds me, but I ain't gonna go sit there and hit the ground. You hear it. And that's as far as it goes.
You volunteered and you wanted to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
Sure. Anyway, anytime. I'm ready to go. I'm in shape. I'm going.
Since you've been back, you visited the wall in Washington, you said 3 times.
3 times with the kids, my kids, yeah.
And this is?
A stone that is from the wall that was given for a souvenir, for the wall. That was made of black granite. Yeah. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think an Oriental lady had designed the wall, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was.
What do you tell your grandchildren about Vietnam?
Well,
do they ask you about it?
Not really. They're so involved with their, with their electronic stuff. I mean, I'm sure that my oldest granddaughter would probably listen more. She would probably think, this is pretty cool. She's actually a hunter, 13 years old, so.
Some of the guys that served over there came back and would be hunters before they left, but didn't want to pick up a weapon after they got back.
Not right away. I think after over a period of time, I think a lot of them went back to the hunting attitude. Probably their dad or something got them back into the mainstream, I got a 30-06, that's all I need. Same weapon I had basically over there, the caliber as my M14 was, 7.62 military, full metal jacket round. But I go out and usually go maybe to Pumpkin Center, something like that, and go out there and shoot, for zeroing your weapon. As far as it goes. I'm not a killer for deer, animals, and stuff. My wife does not want to have a deer looking at you. It stares at you.
She's not alone.
It stares at you.
We're going to conclude. Why don't you talk a little bit about this jacket?
Sure, John. We can hold it up. Can we get it over there? Get her? What it says in there is that when I die, I'll go to heaven because I spent my time in hell, Pleiku. That's where I was located right here. And then at the bottom it says Vietnam 68, 69, and all there's cities all around the jacket implying. Here's Hanoi up here. There's other cities, Da Nang, you can read them there. But these jackets right now would command a high price on the collector's standpoint.
Did you purchase this in Vietnam?
Yeah. They would make up the jacket for you. You just tell them to put on it, and you would do all the work right there. This is made of silk. It's really comfortable, John.
It is. It's very light.
Yeah. And if you notice in the front there,
it's made of silk.
Yeah, silk. There's a dragon. There's your tiger again.
Right. And a dragon on the
and a
other
dragon.
side.
Yeah.
You purchased this in
over there,
Pleiku?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, downtown when we were off.
You remember how much you paid for it?
A couple bucks.
How much did you make a month when you were in Vietnam?
$90 a month total. That'll be including combat pay. Yeah, that was a lot of money back then. But I was a conservative person. I didn't go downtown and have a good time getting drunk. I stayed off the scene and stayed in my area a lot of times, and it's needed. Because the lieutenant, if anybody needed me, they know where to find me because I was there all the time.
As we close out with the official celebration of Veterans Day being on Sunday, what would you like to leave our listeners and viewers with? What message would you like to have them keep in mind, or what would you like to say to them?
Well, I heard on the radio a few times, I think it was on what station I listened to this afternoon, but they said if you see a veteran or a veteran, go up there and thank them, for service well done, or thank you for their service. That's basically what he talked about nowadays. Thank you for your service, which means a lot to me, it can be quite emotional sometimes. It depends who's saying it. Some gal walks up to you and gives you a big hug. That's just emotional. But other than that, you just got to take it with a grain of salt and move on.
On behalf of everybody here at the radio station, our viewers and listeners, thank you for your service, Bob. This has been very, very interesting. We really appreciate you being here and being willing to talk about your service.
Oh, sure. No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Our tribute to veterans will continue. We're going to pause for these messages, and we'll be back.
In this day and age, it seems that we're becoming more and more consumed with things. Between the latest technology gadgets and devices, we're finding ourselves drowning in things. These items do serve a purpose, but at the end of the day, experiences and memories with friends and loved ones is really what counts. Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services and Mayflower Cruises and Tours have paired up to help you create these lasting memories through travel. Join the free extended tour travel presentation on Monday, November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark. To learn more about these amazing and affordable trips, spend 10 nights at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island for the Holland Tulip Festival, or enjoy an Alaskan adventure cruise. If you're longing to cross the Atlantic and voyage down Europe's Danube River, find out how you can make your dream come true. Come learn about these and many more trips November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark in Beaver Dam. Learn how you can create lasting memories through travel.
It always seems hard to find the time to take care of some of those things that we put off. This is Beth from Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services. Planning for your funeral is probably not on your list of favorite things to do, but in so many ways, it is a real gift to those you leave behind. When you pre-plan your funeral, your loved ones will not have to worry. They won't have to guess at what your wishes might have been because you've taken care of all the details ahead of time. Pre-planning is as simple as visiting with us and telling us what your wishes are. We are here to help you through the process. Jerry Henkes, Tricia Schweiger, and John Lighting, along with Russ, Josh, and Dan Kepsel, and myself, Beth Kepsel-Ziemer, we're the Kepsel Murray Funeral and Cremation Services, with funeral homes in Beaver Dam, Mayville, Horicon, Reeseville, and Columbus, and we are here to help.
In January of 1968, the following is a letter that Chaplain Ray W. Stubbe wrote to his parents from Khe Sanh, Vietnam. Dear Mom and Dad, so many things happened at Khe Sanh. It's good I didn't write earlier. Practically anything I might write would either sicken or scare you. But that's all past now. I must say the good Lord was very merciful and gracious. I didn't even receive a cut or bruise. But there for a while, I was having very close calls every day. One noon, while eating brunch in my hooch, an incoming round went into my wall, through 4 feet of dirt, 3 feet of sandbags, and bent my steel walls held up by U-shaped engineering stakes. It was a dud. One evening at midnight, a rocket round, 100 pounds, exploded just 2 feet from my hooch entrance. And one day I was walking through an excavated trench about 10 feet deep. A mortar round exploded on the top edge just above me. Things were very ghastly. I stayed one night at a hooch on the perimeter. It was a bunker for the men manning a 106 gun. One afternoon, they took 2 incoming rounds. Only one lived. All the rest were killed. One man's head was never found. Pieces of finger, hand, flesh, blood all over. One man came into our medical area. He'll lose both legs, his right arm, and be blind. Our medical area took quite a few hits, but fortunately, no one there was hurt. The slogans the men have on their helmets and flak jackets changed from kill, 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 and in many a strife we've lost our life and never lost our nerve, to Mom and Dad forever, and you and me, God, and please, Mr. Kong, I don't want to die, and crosses. Many times, our water supply would get shot up, and we'd go several days without water. There was always fear of incoming. It might come in anywhere. It might land anywhere. No place, no bunker was absolutely safe.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center reminds you that if you need a wood splitter, you'll find tractor-mounted and stationary wood splitters. For all that snow removal this winter, Huff's Repair has the Western and Henniker snow plows and plows for trucks and skid steers. Huff's Repair Center, 717 South Center Street, Beaver Dam, saluting all of our veterans.
Listen to WBEV online anytime at dailydodge.com. Brought to you by Beaver Dam Piggly Wiggly.
Welcome back to our tribute to veterans on this Friday afternoon. Of course, Veterans Day being celebrated on Sunday. And we want to once again thank our sponsors for allowing us to bring this program to you. Horicon Bank, Kepsel Murray Funeral Home, American Bank, Huff's Repair Center, Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services, and Edward Jones. And as I promised, we're going to be talking to you now to a World War II veteran. We plan a little bit later on to talk to a Korean War veteran. And again, the idea behind the program is to make everyone aware of the sacrifices that these men and women made during World War II and all of the conflicts that we've had, and even in times when we don't have conflicts, because when they put their hand up and swear to uphold the Constitution, they are in effect putting life and limb at risk. No matter what job they are assigned, in whatever branch of service they are, they can be called upon at any time to go in and face an enemy, whoever that might be, very directly and be at very grave risk. Well, it is really my pleasure to introduce to you now a gentleman who I met earlier when we did a live remote broadcast at Prairie Ridge Assisted Living in Waupun. Bill Schneider served in World War II. And Bill, I think I offended you. I said you served in the Navy.
Well, you see, that's a naughty word when you're in the Coast Guard. Anyhow, I forgive you.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
You served during the Second World War in the Coast Guard.
Second World War, that's right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you first.
Okay.
You're 97 years young.
97 years young.
There aren't many people left who served in World War II anymore.
I know that, yeah. When I was in Arizona as a department chaplain, we were losing 181 World War II veterans a day. Now they're cut down. Now they're starting to have the Korean veterans dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me about where were you born? Where did you live before you went into the Coast Guard?
I was born in Beaver Dam, of course. Went to school in Beaver Dam, graduated from Beaver Dam High School, and enlisted from Beaver Dam in the Coast Guard.
Right out of high school?
Right. Well, no. A couple years later. I had worked for a couple years before the World War II broke out. I graduated in 1939, and of course, World War II broke out in 1941, and I enlisted in 1942.
Why did you choose the Coast Guard?
There was 5 of us guys in the class that graduated in 1939, and we all decided we were going to enlist. Well, what are you going to enlist in? The guy says, you know something? I think we can go to the Coast Guard and advance a lot faster than we could if we were in the Army. So the 5 of us signed up at the same time.
All in the Coast Guard?
All in the Coast Guard. And, of course, we went down to Chicago after we signed up, and you had to go through the line, and I was the last guy on the line. The other 4 guys went through, and the doctors looked at pens, sign them in, take this man, take this man. When I got there, I had awful bad teeth. I went through the line, and the end doctor said he's a 100% physical man except for teeth. And I said, now what are you going to do, reject me? He says, yeah. Well, I said, I'll tell you something, sir. You're going to reject me. And 2 months from now, the Army is going to come along and say, we want you. And they're going to take me in. They're going to fix my teeth. He says, you know something, son, you're right. So that's how I got in the Coast Guard.
He took you in.
They took me in, and after I was in for about 6 months, I went down to the VA hospital in Chicago, and I had my teeth fixed. And this plate that I have right here, I got in 1942, and it's still going.
It's still working good.
Yeah, it's still working good.
Well, tell me a little bit about the training that you went through to be in the Coast Guard.
Well, of course, you go to boot camp, like the Navy has a boot camp, and so does it. And you go there, and you go through all the fundamentals, learning to march, and learning rifles, about rifles, how to handle a rifle, and things like that you're probably never going to use afterwards in the Coast Guard, but you had to do it. So,
was it hard?
No. Not, it was a snap according to what we went through in high school and everything. You know, the only hard part about it at that time was we had to learn the Morse code. You know, A, did I, that, you know, did it. And they made sure you knew what you were talking about.
Was it difficult to learn the Morse code? Very difficult?
It was a little bit, but once you got into the fundamentals, it was all right.
Did you have an opportunity to use your knowledge of the Morse code when you were actually on duty?
No. Because I was a gunner's mate, and the guys that handle that stuff were signalmen.
Okay. What does a gunner's mate do?
I was in charge of all the armaments on the destroyer escort I was on. 3-inch guns, quad 40 millimeter, twin 20 millimeter, depth charges, everything like that.
Did you get homesick? Was this your first time away from home?
Actually, no. I used to go down to Chicago. Thought I was going to be a major league pitcher.
Tell me about you. Oh, go ahead.
So I went down to Chicago and had a couple of tryouts, so I was away from home. So being away from home didn't bother me, but it bothered a hell of a lot of other guys. We had guys that they had to send home because they were homesick.
They got sent home?
Sent home because they were discharged for the good of the service. Because there's no use of keeping them. If they're homesick, they can't do anything. It's just like being seasick. We had guys that, after they got in the Coast Guard and got on a ship, they got so seasick that they couldn't serve. They were discharged.
Discharged?
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you get away without telling us a little bit about your high school baseball career.
Well, I was a pitcher, and I pitched for Beaver Dam High School and played against Waupun here. And
now you're living in Waupun, Prairie Assisted Living.
Yeah, now.
You get along with everybody yet?
Pardon?
Are you getting along with everybody, or
No.
do they still frown on you for pitching for Beaver Dam?
No. But I thought I'd be a major league pitcher.
Who did you try out with? You said you went to Chicago, the Cubs?
Yes, and then there was a semi-pro team down there called the Chicago Mills. They made the Chicago Mills made jute boxes, you know, like the Wurlitzers.
Okay.
And they had a semi-pro club, and I tried out with them. And then I also had a tryout up at Sheboygan when Sheboygan had a baseball team called the Sheboygan Chairs.
Mm-hmm. Never quite made them, though. Did you ever make the team?
No. You see, the people don't know it, and there's a bunch of politics connected with being a Major League Baseball player. You could be the best player in the world, but if they didn't like your demeanor or something like that, forget about it. You weren't going to go in a place.
Okay, well, let's go back talking about your Coast Guard career. Now, you served, you said, on a destroyer escort.
Right.
And what type of ship is that? What was that ship's duty in the fleet?
It's just slightly smaller than a regular destroyer, but it was built primarily for escorting convoys of merchant ships overseas. We would get a convoy made up in Newport News, Virginia, or in New York City, and then we'd escort them across the ocean. Now, we'd probably have 30 or 40 merchant ships, and we'd have 8 or 10 DEs, destroyer escorts, and we'd form a circle around them and be their safety net as they went across.
Now, we're talking, you said 1942?
Yeah.
That's when the German submarine fleet, the U-boat fleet, was destroying a lot of ships and
Yeah.
killing a lot of people.
Yes.
You served really during the height of the time when they were very, very strong.
Right. Now, when they talk about a convoy, they would say we're going to have a 18-knot convoy, which meant that if you signed up for that as a merchant marine, you had to keep up to that convoy, or they let you go and you drift back. And then at night you'd see a great big fireball in the west.
So if the merchant ships, the cargo ships, couldn't keep up,
That's right.
they were left behind, and the U-boats would find them and destroy them.
Right, because if they couldn't make 18 knots, they were putting the whole convoy in danger, you know.
And you didn't go back to rescue the survivors.
Well, no, we never didn't, because we had to keep going. You were there at your own peril.
Was the convoy you were escorting ever under attack by the U-boats?
Yes, all the time.
And they would attack in packs of more than one,
Well,
the U-boats.
They would, but then again, sometimes they'd be loners too, you know.
And ships that you were escorting were hit by their torpedoes?
Yes.
And did you ever? What was the technology for you at that point? Were you aware of it to know whether or not the U-boats were in the area? Was there sonar and things like that?
Yeah, we had sonar at that time in 1942. Yes, and you could tell they were in the area. And of course, if they were, we'd track them and then we'd drop depth charges.
When the alarm went off, when battle stations was called, what was your duty? What did you do?
I was on the flying bridge.
The what bridge?
The bridge. It was called the flying bridge. There's two bridges on a destroyer. The main bridge, the control bridge, and then the flying bridge where during wartime or during a battle, somebody also was up there directing the ship.
And what was your duty on the flying bridge? What did you do?
Wear earphones and transmit orders from the bridge down to what they call the forecastle, which was the front of the ship.
And then you would make depth charge runs at the submarines?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get a submarine?
You don't know. You drop them and you hear the explosion, and then you may see a piece of debris, but then again you may not, you know, because it would depends on the ocean tide and everything.
Was any ship that was your ship ever torpedoed? Or
No.
did you have torpedoes shot at your ship that you could see coming at you?
No, we never were.
How fast could those destroyer escorts go?
Oh, I would say 25 knots maybe.
And that's about 30, 35
Yeah,
miles an hour,
yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Wide open, full steam.
How many men served on a escort?
Yeah, we had almost 300.
How big was that ship?
That ship, if you set that ship, it would fit right on a football field. 100 yards by 50 yards.
How were the living quarters? Pretty cramped?
No, not really. You lived. We all, of course, you slept in a bunk, and they had 3 bunks in a row, and they were on chains, and you were assigned to the bunk, and that was your home. That's where you kept everything. Then you had what they had called the seaman's locker down here, where you kept your wallet and anything private.
You didn't get seasick?
Pardon?
You did not get seasick?
No, I didn't, but a lot of guys did. In fact, I can get you seasick right now sitting here.
Please don't.
Huh?
But tell me how you do it.
All right. I haven't got my little thing on here. Or have I? No, I haven't.
Okay, well, that's maybe a good thing.
All right. You take a pendulum like this. You just go like this.
And I'm supposed to watch it?
Yes.
Are you going to hypnotize me or make me seasick?
It's the same thing.
Oh, okay. And I could actually get sick watching that long
You
enough.
bet you could.
Okay, let's stop. Because I have been not real seasick, but a little bit, just out on Lake Michigan doing some fishing out there. What's the trick to not getting seasick?
Eat soda crackers. When the war was over in the Pacific, when they signed the peace treaty in Japan, we were ordered home, and we took a bunch of Marines home on our ship. They didn't have any place to sleep. They slept right on top of the deck through storms and anything just to get home. And I'd walk up, and some of these young Marines would be like, throwing up, you know. And I said, you want to get over seasickness? Yeah. Eat soda crackers. And the guy said, yeah. But that would help you.
It would absorb?
Settles your stomach, yeah.
Oh, okay. So did you eat a lot of soda crackers
Oh,
then?
all the time.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Well, anytime I could.
From the Midwest, you'd never been on the ocean before. A little frightening when you first got out there in
No.
that vast expanse of nothing but water?
No. I, of course, was born in Beaver Dam, a block from Beaver Dam Lake. So I was quite acquainted with being in the water.
Okay. Could you swim well?
Oh, I could swim like a fish.
I bet you still could.
Yeah.
What was the worst storm you were ever in?
Right out of Cape Hatteras in Carolina is the roughest spot in the Atlantic Ocean. And I was right on the edge of this typhoon that went through. And at that time, one of our ships actually tipped right over upside down.
Capsized?
Right upside down. Our ship could take what they call a certain amount on the clinometer. In other words, it could tip either way just so far, and if it didn't want to come back, it would capsize. And that we lost quite a few guys on that ship.
The ship that capsized?
Yeah.
Yours did not capsize, fortunately. Did it feel like it was getting close once in a while?
Oh, yeah. But it wasn't bad because you're sailing along and you go into a storm and you come out of a storm. That's one of the perils of being at sea, you know. Well, you could imagine what it was when they had the old sailing ships, when it would take days to get out of a storm.
Yeah. Frightening experience.
Pardon?
It's a very frightening. Which was more frightening, being under attack by the U-boats or that storm? If you had to choose between the two, what a terrible choice.
I really don't know what to say. You just took whatever come along and lived with it, you know, or died with it, one of the two.
when you got out, did you want to get back to the sea? Did you develop a love for the life on the sea?
I wanted to dearly get back. I wanted to go and sign up as a merchant ship, as a sailor on a merchant ship, and go around the world. But I never did.
You didn't get to that.
No. And to this day, I rue that day.
That you turned that down.
Yeah. And one of the greatest things that happened is years and years afterwards, I had a chance to go on the Riviera cruise, and that was just wonderful.
Now, when you were escorting the convoys, you went from the U.S. to England?
Yes, to England, but my ship mostly went through the Caribbean and Europe, Southern Europe, and Africa.
Oh, okay. Portugal, Spain.
Yeah, Portugal,
Yeah.
Spain, Egypt. I was in Casablanca, and I was in Rick's Bar.
Where Humphrey Bogart
Yes,
was?
Humphrey Bogart.
You were in the bar?
I was in that bar. There is an actually bar. Think what the name of it was. Well, but the picture was made there too, you know.
Uh-huh.
Ingrid Bergman and
Yeah, great. It's a great movie.
it was one of the greatest.
Was that the Maltese Falcon? Nobody's here old enough to remember that.
The Maltese Falcon?
That was a Humphrey Bogart
Yes.
movie. I think.
Sidney Greenstreet.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, I tell you, you're up on it. What was the weather like on the Atlantic Ocean in terms of temperature, humidity, things like that? And you did this, how many years did you do the escort duty?
Well, I was in for 4 years. And
So you were going back and forth the whole time,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
So what was the weather like out there?
Well, it depends. I would say seasonal. I can't remember if we ever saw any snow, but we did see a lot of storms.
The North
Rainstorms, yeah.
Up in the North Atlantic, that was
Oh, that was where
particularly
it was
bad.
bad.
Right.
Yeah, but I was fortunate not to go to the Murmansk, Russia. That's where they lost so many ships and so many merchant ships.
Right. The U.S. and England supplied a lot of supplies for the Russians who were battling the Germans on the
Yes,
Eastern Front.
they did,
And that
yeah.
was a long, cold trip to
Yeah.
get those supplies in there, and dangerous, as you said.
Well, now Veterans Day is coming up, and there is a story about the 4 chaplains. Are you acquainted with that?
I've heard of it. I can't recall the specifics of it.
Well, it's a story of the Dorchester, which was a ship traveling in this convoy going to England on the north side in the North Sea. And they were sunk. And there wasn't enough life preservers to go around. And the 4 chaplains who are going over to take their post in the Army and Navy and the Marines, they give up their life jacket and stood on the deck as she went down, and they died there. And it's a wonderful story. 4 chaplains.
Mm-hmm. That is a absolutely fantastic
Yeah.
story, some real heroism. But you're all heroes, all of you who served.
Well,
and we're
we
willing
don't consider ourselves. You know, at that time, you don't think of it. And, you know, a lot of time now, to this day, if I wear this outfit, people will come up and say, thank you for your service. And you hardly know what to say. Well, you're welcome or thanks or what, you know, because we're used to it now.
War is a terrible thing, obviously, but would you go back and do it over again?
In a minute. That was the greatest experience of my life.
Why would you say that?
Well, because I was a young man. I was only 20 years old. And the things I saw, and that would cost you a tremendous amount of money right now to see the same things that I saw for nothing.
You saw the bar where Casablanca was made. That was the
Yes,
name of that
that
movie.
would be
You'd
one.
have to pay a lot
And
to get
then,
over there, see that.
Like Egypt, you know, you're going into Egypt in the Suez Canal, and this buddy of mine said, "You want to go with me tomorrow?" I said, "Where are you going to go, Max?" He says, "I'm going to go to Sidi Bel Abbes." You know what that is?
No.
That's the home of the French Foreign Legion.
Oh, did you go?
I, like a damn fool, turned them down
Oh.
because we had a beer party to go to. And he went and he says, "That's the greatest thing I ever saw in my life."
Just one of a few regrets that you have.
That's it. Few regrets, yeah.
Well, did you say you were over in the Pacific at one time or not?
Yes.
How now? After the war ended against the Germans, then you went over to the Pacific.
When the peace was signed in Europe, all the ships were sent to the Pacific.
Hmm.
And we were all ready for the invasion of Japan. And we left Pearl Harbor, and 2 days out of Pearl Harbor, they announced that the president, Harry S., dropped the bomb, and we turned right around and came back to Pearl Harbor and then back to the United States.
When you first heard of the atomic bomb being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, did you have any kind of idea what that was, what it meant? Tell us
Not-
about what you thought when that announcement was made.
You know, they said a bomb that ends all bomb, that's all we knew, you know.
Mm-hmm. And of course, now there has been some discussion since then of whether or not, you know, the United States, they say, some people say, is the only country that ever dropped an atomic bomb on another country. But tell us about the end of the war against the Japanese and what you would have been facing had you gone over there to invade Japan.
That would have been one of the biggest losses of life of our Army and our Navy, because you're going into a country like Japan that's all military, and we would have lost a lot of people over there. And rather than lose our American soldiers, Harry decided to drop the bomb and get it over with, and it got it over with. And now my thinking, that could have been used again in these wars that we got now, like the one that we had against Afghanistan, the first one.
After the 9/11?
No, not the line. That wasn't. That's before that.
Oh, when the Russians were in Afghanistan?
No, when I'm trying to think of what is he?
Desert Storm or Desert
No,
Shield?
that's before that.
That's Iraq.
Yeah, Iraq. Yeah. See, that's where it started. They convinced the politicians, convinced everybody that that was going to be over in 1 weekend. They said we were going to go over on a Friday, lick 'em, come home and watch a football game. That thing is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
I said at one time, that's where they should have used a bomb. Get it over with and been done. Right now, the same. You're fighting that same war only all over Afghanistan, and.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit more about your arrival back home after the war. What was that like? Do you remember coming home?
Well, yes. My ship came into Florida, and I had my choice of being discharged there or flying home and then being discharged in Detroit. Well, I wanted to be a baseball player, and boy, that was a big decision to make, whether to get discharged there and see if I could make it. If I couldn't, what was I going to do? I didn't know anything else. So I decided to come back to Detroit, and that was one of my biggest mistakes I ever made. I should have went right back and stayed right in Florida, tried out for the team. If I didn't make it, do something else.
So you came back in time for spring training, basically, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, what did you do when you got back then?
When I got back to the United States, then I started to take a few jobs. I worked for the Beaver Dam Citizen in the circulation department for a while, worked at Monarch Range, and I worked at Kraft Foods. And I worked at Cook's Bowling Alley, tending bar. So I had several jobs until I was asked to come to Brandon and take over a tavern, and I did, and from then on, here I am.
What tavern did you run?
It was called the Sportsman's Bar. It was owned by Doc Evans. He was a one-armed man. He lost his arm crawling through a fence with a loaded shotgun.
Oh, my.
But he could do wonders with that one arm. He could fly fish, shoot pheasants, ducks. When he'd fly fish, he'd take the rod in. He lost the left arm. He would
fling it out and use his teeth to pull the line back.
He'd get a trout on there, and he had the net around his neck. He'd get the trout right up like this, and he'd kind of flip them up like that.
And with the same hand then catch the fish in the net.
Yep.
That really...
The thing that got me, I had a little 16-foot rowboat. My dad and I made it. And I had a little 5-horse motor. And Doc and I went out to try it one day. And I said, Doc, you want to run the motor? He said, yeah. So he went to stern, and I stayed up at the bow. And we're going along pretty good. And all of a sudden, I heard a different noise to the motor. And I went and I looked, and here the motor had come off the transom. And Doc had this right arm, his best. And he was holding that motor out like this, and we were still
with one
running.
arm. That's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, I never saw anything like it.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a break and come back and talk more. Very enjoyable conversation this afternoon with Bill Schneider, who served in the Coast Guard during World War II. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hey, Wisconsin, break out the Blaze Orange because Hunt Week is back. Fleet Farm is your one-stop deer season destination. And Hunt Week is your chance to get the hottest offers of the season on gear, apparel, ammo, snacks, and more from all the best brands. Plus, Wednesday only, enter to win a Savage Axis rifle package. Hurry in for Hunt Week to get the best buys all week long on everything you need to bag that trophy buck. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
In this day and age, it seems that we're becoming more and more consumed with things. Between the latest technology gadgets and devices, we're finding ourselves drowning in things. These items do serve a purpose, but at the end of the day, experiences and memories with friends and loved ones is really what counts. Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services and Mayflower Cruises and Tours have paired up to help you create these lasting memories through travel. Join the free extended tour travel presentation on Monday, November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark. To learn more about these amazing and affordable trips, spend 10 nights at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island for the Holland Tulip Festival, or enjoy an Alaskan adventure cruise. If you're longing to cross the Atlantic and voyage down Europe's Danube River, find out how you can make your dream come true. Come learn about these and many more trips November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Watermark in Beaver Dam. Learn how you can create lasting memories through travel.
I'm Scott Hansen with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Steelers routed the Panthers by a score of 52-21. Ben Roethlisberger finished 22 of 25 passing for 328 yards and 5 touchdowns. Here is what Big Ben had to say about the win after the game.
Play a good football team. I mean, we know they're a really good football team, and they came out and drove down the field and scored, and we're like, all right, we're going to, this is what we expect. We're going to put up a lot of points. And, we did that. The defense, they were playing like their hair was on fire. We're playing some pretty good football right now, but there's still some stuff out there that we can, maybe more plays we can make.
In other news, Jets head coach Todd Bowles said Thursday that Sam Darnold will not start against the Bills on Sunday, and Redskins running back Chris Thompson has been ruled out of Sunday's game against the Buccaneers. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owed the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $500 million for their clients.
Optima Tax, they helped me. They calmed me down. They made me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-968-9022. 800-968-9022. 800-968-9022. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you're near retirement or thinking about retiring, you probably have questions. You're ready for retirement, but are your finances? Your Edward Jones financial advisor, Richard Greep, can help. Stop by the office at 203 Corporate Drive in Beaver Dam. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC. From the office of Richard Greep to our veterans. On this day intended to honor those who served, they thank you for giving your all to foster peace.
This Veterans Day, American Bank celebrates and honors America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. We ask you to join us in taking a moment to honor those who have served our country, as well as those currently serving for their courage and sacrifice. Happy Veterans Day to all from the entire staff at American Bank, proud supporters of the men and women serving our country, past and present, member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center reminds you that if you need a wood splitter, you'll find tractor-mounted and stationary wood splitters. For all that snow removal this winter, Huff's Repair has the Western and Henniker snow plows and plows for trucks and skid steers. Huff's Repair Center, 717 South Center Street, Beaver Dam, saluting all of our veterans.
Listen to WBEV online anytime at dailydodge.com. Brought to you by Beaver Dam Piggly Wiggly.
Welcome back again to our Veterans Day tribute on WBEV AM. That's 1430 on your dial, or you could be listening to us on dailydodge.com on our live stream on our website, or you could be watching on our website. Just click the video tab and you'll find our live broadcast here this afternoon. Thank you so much to our sponsors who make this program possible. Edward Jones, Richard Greep, Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services, Huff's Repair Center, American Bank, Kepselberry Funeral Home, and Horicon Bank, providing real service by allowing us to talk to these great gentlemen this afternoon who served our country during various conflicts. We talked to a gentleman earlier who served in Vietnam. Now we're talking to Bill Schneider, who served during World War II on a destroyer escort for the Coast Guard. And coming up, we're going to be talking to John Jensen from Horicon, who served who served his country during the Korean War. So stay tuned for that. Well, Bill, I want to get back to you a little bit here. And I never asked you the name of the ship that you served on. What was the name of the ship? The
Calcaterra.
And we weren't on the air when we were talking about that. So why don't you tell us how that ship got its name?
Well, of course, when they make a ship, then they got to name it. And some are named after so-called politicians, like the USS Roosevelt. But this gentleman, Calcaterra, was a sailor that was in Corregidor and in the Philippines. And going to Sorma Beach, he was killed, and they named this ship that I was on after him.
Okay. And you served, you said, for 4 years in the Coast Guard. And many people, I would think, aren't aware of the fact that it was Coast Guard personnel that were actually on those destroyer escorts. You think that's automatically Navy?
No.
How'd you get along with the Navy personnel when you ran into them on the street?
It depends. If you were drinking, we were buddies. if you weren't, you weren't. Yeah.
Now, after the war and during the course of your life, you've been a band leader.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I always liked to sing. So when I got down to Arizona for my first trip down there, I went to this bar one day. It's the American Legion, what they call a post.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a band playing. And they started playing the band, and they started playing a popular song. And I just walked up and I grabbed the microphone and I started singing. Well, from then on, I was the singer.
Oh.
And then eventually I took over the band by myself. And I was the leader then and the vocalist. And we were the Sweet Sounds, starring Sweet William.
Now, you almost got into radio.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well,
you'd have been great, by the way.
Well, I don't know. This is years ago when a fellow by the name of Gordy Thomas worked for WBEV. And of course, Gordy was a great announcer, and he had many years ahead of him because they all wanted him. So he ended up in WTMJ.
Oh, he started in Beaver Dam.
He started.
I was totally unaware of that.
On WBEV, and at that time it was owned by Ed Meyer, the feed company.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay.
All right. And he was offered a job at WTMJ. Well, that left an opening in WBEV, and I tried out for it.
And?
And I could have had a job, but at the last minute, as a young guy will do, changes his mind.
That happens.
But I can remember what my audition was. They gave me the farm report to read. And one of the things that was sent on there, wanted young man on farm, must be a non-drinker, and no boozers need apply.
And that was the actual
That
ad
was the
that you
actual thing,
read.
yeah.
We have to wind down our conversation, Bill. This has been very, very interesting. You're a member of what's been called the greatest generation. Have you heard that term?
Yes, I have.
What do you feel when you hear that term?
Well, yes and no. You know, we went and did a job that had to be done. That's all there's to it. Who else would have done it?
As a young man sailing in the Atlantic on this ship, your convoy is under attack. I would imagine there were explosions going off relatively near you once in a while. How did you deal with that from a fear standpoint?
It was there. It was something. We never thought about it. I would imagine if you'd ask an infantryman, you probably got one coming up, he'd tell you he's on the front line and he's shooting. He's doing what he was paid to do.
Well, you certainly did, and you certainly did it well.
Yeah.
And on behalf of all our listeners and everybody here at the radio station, I want to thank you for your service, sir.
And I want to thank you for listening to my story.
97 years young, and I hope you have another 100 coming.
Oh, no, I don't want another.
That's our conversation with Bill Schneider, who stays at Prairie Ridge Assisted Living in Waupun. I had a chance to meet Bill some months ago when we did a live remote broadcast there, and knew that we needed to bring him on this program today. We're going to continue with our broadcast, and we're going to talk to a gentleman who served in the Korean War by the name of John Jensen from Horicon, our second Horicon native on the show this afternoon. So stay tuned for that as we continue our tribute to veterans here on WBEV, AM 1430, and DailyDodge.com.
The results are in for Wisconsin's statewide testing. Students in the parental choice programs had the highest comparative scores across the state.
When compared to their public school counterparts, the students in the Wisconsin parental choice programs have scored higher on the ACT for the third year in a row. We spoke with many parents who were thrilled with the results and are really thankful for the opportunities the private schools across Wisconsin provided them.
Great. Thanks, Amy. It sounds like congratulations are definitely in order. To find out more on the program, visit ChooseYourSchoolWI.org.
They'll challenge your authority because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, and in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center reminds you that if you need a wood splitter, you'll find tractor-mounted and stationary wood splitters. For all that snow removal this winter, Huff's Repair has the Western and Henniker snow plows and plows for trucks and skid steers. Huff's Repair Center, 717 South Center Street, Beaver Dam, saluting all of our veterans.
Bullseye! You've finally done it. After waiting all season, your patience earned you that magnificent 16-pointer. But now comes the difficult question. What do I do with all this meat? For over 36 years, Pernitz has answered this question with their award-winning hot sticks, summer sausage, jerky, brats, and other savory delights. Processing your deer starts at $65 with Hyde Credit. That includes skinning, cutting, wrapping, and freezing. There is no greater insult to the bounties of the wilderness than allowing fresh meat to go to waste. Pernitz will transform your trim into culinary ecstasy. New to the table this year is Pernitz cheesy sweet and hot chili mix. I bet you're looking forward to winter now. Pernitz has 3 convenient deer drop-off and donation locations. Pernit Hazy Meats in Juneau, Pernit Premium Meats in Johnson Creek, and Pernitz of Ixonia in Ixonia. To plan out your meaty creations, visit their website at pernitz.com.
Whether you need a new car battery or it's time to get out there and hunt, Fleet Farm has deals like Interstate Auto batteries, 25% off with exchange. Morton Rust Defense water softener pellets, 40-pound bags are $5.99. And durable cat work boots get 20% off all styles. Plus, enter to win a $5,000 shopping spree. And donate a toy to Toys for Tots. Fleet Farm is built for every season. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Columbus Community Hospital, well into the future. Need a hip replacement? The average stay of Columbus Community Hospital is 1.8 days. Columbus Community Hospital, building a caring relationship, one patient at a time.
Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than thinking about retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, Edward Jones can help. Stop by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Richard Greaves' office at 203 Corporate Drive in Beaver Dam. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC. From the office of Richard Greaves to our veterans, to our men and women in uniform, thank you.
Join us for a spaghetti fundraiser co-sponsored by BDACT and Praise Assembly Church to help fund resurfacing of their shared parking lot. Sunday, November 11th from 4 to 7 at Bayside Supper Club. $10 single, $30 family tickets at Rechex or at the door.
Check out the Dodge County's Most Wanted page at dailydodge.com. Brought to you by QBS Law.
This Veterans Day, American Bank celebrates and honors America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. We ask you to join us in taking a moment to honor those who have served our country, as well as those currently serving for their courage and sacrifice. Happy Veterans Day to all from the entire staff at American Bank, proud supporters of the men and women serving our country, past and present, member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center reminds you that if you need a wood splitter, you'll find tractor-mounted and stationary wood splitters. For all that snow removal this winter, Huff's Repair has the Western and Henniker snow plows and plows for trucks and skid steers. Huff's Repair Center, 717 South Center Street, Beaver Dam, saluting all of our veterans.
Keep up with local high school sports on dailydodge.com, brought to you by Reed Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Let our family take care of your family.
Good afternoon and welcome back to our Veterans Day tribute here on WBEV and on dailydodge.com. And once again, a special thank you to our sponsors for this program this afternoon. Huff's Repair Center in Beaver Dam, Horicon Bank, Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services, Edward Jones, Richard Greep, the Kepsel Murray Funeral Home, and Horicon Bank. And we've been talking to, well, we've spoken so far to a veteran who served in Vietnam and another veteran who served in World War II, and now we're going to move on to the Korean War. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody from the Iraq Wars with us this afternoon, but hopefully sometime in the future years during our annual program we'll be able to do that. But I got a phone call the other day from a young man sitting next to me here, John Jensen, who said that he had heard that I had asked on the air if there were any veterans that would like to be on the show and talk about their experience. And he said, I'd like to volunteer to do that. And John, I am so happy that you did.
Thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you, sir. You are from Horicon.
Yes, I live in Horicon now.
And you own the Old Time Health Food Store?
Old Time Food Store.
It's been there a long time.
Yes.
And we're going to get into how you managed to end up in Horicon as we move through our conversation here. A very, very interesting story with some names that will ring true for some people who've lived in Beaver Dam for a while. Well, tell us, where are you from originally, John?
I am from Milwaukee, North Milwaukee. I was born and raised there and spent most of my time in Milwaukee. And from there, I moved out here.
All right. And Korean War started, was it 51?
Yes.
My
birthday was in June of 51.
You turned?
21. But then I went to the draft board and I said, I'm considering getting married next month, but I will put it off if I'm high on the draft list. And he, of course, said, no, you're low. In fact, we don't even know where you are. You go get married. So I got married. A month later, I had a draft notice.
Oh, my goodness. And you were in.
And
there was no appealing the draft notice at that,
right.
that
so,
point.
Yeah, it's another week, go get signed up. I had a nice thing happen when I took the oath of office. There was an officer there before giving the oath. He said, now you young men have lived a life of freedom because there was always someone here to protect that freedom. Well, guys, it's your turn. And with that, carried me through my combat.
You are wearing your uniform today.
Yes.
Which is a little bit unusual because most people, so many years after they served, the uniform would not fit anymore.
That's correct. But I guess I have not gained a lot of weight.
Well, tell us about, you were drafted. Where did you get your basic training?
I went first to Fort Sheridan, where we got our uniforms and equipment. And then we went by train down to Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. And at Fort Chaffee, they sorted us out. And I got chosen to go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, the artillery school. So I was trained as an artilleryman.
You know, I have to say, and I should ask this question one question ago, you were just married.
Yes.
That must have been extremely difficult to leave your new wife.
Yes, when you found out she was pregnant.
Before you left?
Yes.
That weighed heavily on you while you were serving.
Yes, and my son was born when I was in Korea.
How old was he when you returned?
About a year old. And I had never met him or seen him. He didn't know me. So his mother handed him to me, and he looked at me like, "Who the heck are you?" And I kept saying, "I'm your daddy, I'm your daddy."
But I'll bet you it didn't take long for that relationship.
It took a little while, yeah.
To develop. Okay, so you went to the artillery school, you said.
Yes.
Now, we should explain what this is, because you just mentioned artillery school. This is, why don't you tell the folks what it is? Can you see that, Justin? If I hold that up, oh, it's heavy.
Yes, it is.
What is it?
It's the gun sight from a 105 howitzer.
Which is?
Which is the units I trained on and got assigned to in Korea.
And 155, that's the diameter of the shell.
105.
Or 105 that it shoots.
Diameter of the barrel.
And when you think of a 155, you think of this cannon mounted on two wheels being pulled behind another vehicle that you can set up and use.
They're pullable.
Why don't you explain the various parts of this sight? Do you look through one part of it?
There are two gunners on the gun. One on the left side. He gets that sight. He directs left and right. The gunner on the right side, the number 2 man, he controls elevation. And between them, they get the thing pointed where they're told to point it.
Now, that's all done with math, though, isn't it? And it always amazes me how accurate, how far could a 105 shoot?
5 miles.
Well, you obviously can't see your target.
No.
How accurate could you be with a 105
well,
back in the
that was
Korean
my
War?
job. I was a forward observer. I was on the front line, and when we would see a target, we would call in the Fire Direction Center and say, "We have a target," and we tell them what it was and exactly where it was. And they take all that stuff, and all of a sudden they say, "Their rounds are on the way." And then we'd watch, and we'd wait for the rounds to land, and then we'd tell them to move it left, right, forward, backward, depending on where it hit. But that was our forward observer job.
How long would it take for a round to travel 5 miles to its target?
A couple of minutes.
A couple of minutes. And then you being an observer, you're out ahead of a lot of the troops, right? You're in the front lines, aren't you?
You're on the front line with the infantry.
Dangerous.
Yeah, there was a row of hills, and I was on the tallest one of the hills. It was called Hill 316. And the infantry, 3 companies of infantry were on my right. And my job was to protect those infantrymen should there have been a ground attack.
Was there ever a ground attack against them?
They tried.
What happened?
It was, they hit us with mortar shells first, usually in the afternoon. And from there, we wait and wait, because they would never come out in the daylight to attack us. So they try to night attack. In the night attack, the infantry had a listening post on the bottom of their hill, and the guy down there said, "I think I hear troops." So I got the call, and it went up, and the infantry got the call, and it was night. And I called my fire direction and said, "I don't know, I can't see where they are, but I got to see them to protect the infantry on this ground attack." Well, they came up with a couple of shells, which I didn't even know we had. It was a flare type shell. It blew up about 500 feet above ground and dropped a parachute with a white flare on it. And that white flare lit up where they were. And I had them shoot another one. I said, "One more to make sure we can see." And they shot another one, and it lit up even more ground. And as soon as that second one lit up, the enemy retreated, backed out of there. But they were ready to attack our position that night.
Now, early in the Korean War, we fought the North Koreans, but later on the Chinese came into the war. Are you talking as the enemy the Chinese at this particular point in
Yes,
time?
they were.
And I know that in some of their attacks, they sounded bugles and
No.
things like that, but in this particular instance,
No,
they did not.
quiet, trying to get right up as close to the infantry positions as they could. We were all on hills, and the front of the hills were rigged with barbed wire, but they'd have come crashing in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't want them that close. So again, keeping them away from us was my job.
And like you said, as soon as you were contacted that the listening post heard something,
Yes.
then somebody contacted you, and you went out and got them to shoot the flares.
Yeah.
And instead of attacking, they, at that point, retreated. Frightening experience, though.
Well, it was the only ground attack I was aware of. They did attack that same position after I had left the position, and they overran it, and they killed a bunch of our people.
What kind of training did you get to be a forward observer?
How much what?
A training did you get to
None.
be a forward observer?
None.
Well, how did you end up being a forward observer?
Because I got to the battery, and they had an opening, what was called the recon section. The recon section was a second lieutenant observer, his helper, and a jeep driver, a three-man crew. The jeep driver never stayed up on the hill. Only I, the forward observer officer, and I did everything. He would find a target, he'd tell me, I'd tell the fire direction center. And then they'd start firing, and then he'd have to direct the fire. And that went on for months. And he got a new job. He found a new job, aerial observer. They found a little Piper Cub airplane, and the pilot was in the front, and he sat behind, and they went up over the enemy lines to see what we couldn't see from the ground. But he never came back. So then I was left alone as the forward observer and the helper.
Was he shot down? You said
No.
he never came back. Oh,
No.
to your unit.
To our unit, yeah.
Do you know if he made it out of the war okay?
He enjoyed being away from me.
Away from you?
Yes.
Why was that?
Well, it was New Year's Eve. He had gotten back to the battery. He got drunk. Came back to the bunker and lay down on the bed and fell asleep. I get a call on the phone from information that someone had tapped into the enemy's lines, phones, whatever, that they were going to attack my position that night. And he was out, totally out. I did not get any sleep that night. So in the morning when he woke up, I told him, I had a choice last night. If they would have attacked, what were they going to do with you? I said, I had a choice. Either I left you or I tried to get you out of here. You are too big for me to get out of here. So I pretty much decided I was going to leave you. He never wanted to be with me anymore. And he never drank anymore either.
How long were you a front observer?
Of the 15 months I lived in Korea, I was there forward observer for 14 months.
How did you arrive in Korea? Did you land on the beach? Were you flown in?
Troop ship.
Troop ship left
Troop
you off?
ships across the Pacific, and we landed in Tokyo. And in Tokyo, I took a test there, a written test, which later I found out saved my life. But we left the big ship and got on a smaller troop ship, and that went up the coast and dropped us off at Incheon. And then trucks took us on into Seoul.
So this would have been after MacArthur landed and
Yes.
took the beach at Incheon and went in.
Yeah.
And it was at that,
Basically, the big fights were all over
with the North Koreans.
in South Korea and North Korea.
Oh, but the Chinese were still involved, correct?
Yeah, they were involved.
There were a lot of hills in South Korea. You were on 316, you said? How long were you on that particular hill?
For 9 months.
On that one hill.
One hill,
So
one
this
bunker.
this is while they were negotiating.
Yes, because they were debating where the line should be. The only fighting that went on when I was there was the American side tried to push over to their side and move the border more further north.
Okay.
They would attack our side, trying to move the border further south. So that's the fighting that went on. There was a movie about Chopstick Hill.
Pork Chop Hill.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was one that was out in front of me.
You were near Pork Chop Hill.
Yes. There was also another big hill called Baldy.
I remember that as well.
I was in front of that too.
Some very big battles there.
Yeah, that was I wasn't really involved in that fighting. So we pretty much stayed, our job was to protect that line that we were sitting on and not get pushed off of it.
You mentioned that you took a test that saved your life.
Yes.
How did that work?
That happened, I was up on the hill alone, and the driver comes up, he says, they want you back at the battery. I said, what have I done? He said, yeah, just come with me. You don't question. So I went back with him, and First Sergeant said the division, 3rd Division, is going to run a leadership school. And every unit in the division has to send one man to this leadership school, which is going to be held at division headquarters. I said, fine, that's nice. He said, well, you're the one. And I said, why me? He said, well, you had the highest score of anyone in the unit, so we're sending you. So I went through 1 month that I actually lived in a tent, had a mess hall. It was really kind of nice. And I did very well. The top 5 of us, out of 40, were offered a commission. Didn't have to take it, but it was offered.
As a first lieutenant or second
Second
lieutenant?
lieutenant, yes. So yes, I decided to take it. And the general that pinned my new bars on, he said, now you realize you're going to have to go to the front line. I said, yes, sir. I just came from there.
You know, I want to go back to, you talked about you had really good living conditions when you went to this leadership school. Talk about the living conditions when you were a forward observer.
The other 14 months, yeah. I lived in a hole in the ground called a bunker. Someone had dug a hole about 10 feet around and about 8 feet deep, put a roof on it, covered the roof with sandbags, and they had an entrance, no door, but an entrance. And you lived in that bunker 24/7. There was no electricity, so there was no fans, no heaters, nothing that electricity could help. There was no water. They brought in a trailer full of water once a week, and you could fill your canteen. There was no mess hall. You had to eat C rations every day. There was no plumbing. There were no showers. You lived in your uniform day in, day out. I think I had one shower in the year and a half I was there.
What, in a year and a half?
We went into reserves once, and there was a tent that we could shower in. And I had my one shower in a year.
What are C rations? What kind of food is that? What do you get to eat?
How did what?
What kind of food is in C rations?
Well, there's about a variety of 10 different kinds of things. And the cooks would bring the Jeep with the water, and in the back of the Jeep would be boxes and boxes of C rations. And then you'd sit and look at them and decide, well, I'd like 3 of these, and I'd like 5 of those, and 2 of those. And you'd pull them out and carry them up to your bunker, and they'd go away. They'd go. They didn't want to be on the front line either.
Beans, pork, beef, all canned?
All canned.
Could you heat it up?
It kept me alive. So yes, it worked out okay.
And I think you got some cigarettes?
No.
No? You didn't get any of those. What protected you? You were exposed. You're forward observer.
Yeah.
You're up there. Were there other people assigned to protecting you in your position?
No.
So if they decided to attack you, it's you against them?
They would be Well, they attacked me personally once.
Can you tell us about
I have
that?
a mortar. A mortar started coming in. They mortared us, every 2 or 3 weeks. We'd get a mortar attack. And one day they started their mortar attack and they hit the front of my hill, and the next round hit the back of my hill. In the military, we call it bracketing. They had me. The next shell hit my bunker, blew a hole in the roof, threw shrapnel down in what is my bed. I just wasn't in it. But yes, you talked earlier to a man about shrapnel. But yes, I had shrapnel in my bunker.
Where were you? What were you doing
I
when
was
this?
laying on the floor next to it. But yes.
How many? Go ahead.
That test I took in Tokyo, that's the test that the first sergeant said I did so well on and got me off of that hill, and that's the one that got overrun.
That hill was overrun.
Yes, by the Chinese, and they don't take prisoners. What they do is throw hand grenades into our bunker and kill anybody in there. That's the way they operated with that.
So
And that, I said after I left that position, I had heard they'd overrun it. That same position I was in, that I would have been in.
So the people that were in there were killed. That took your place.
Yeah. So that was one of my lucky, and the shrapnel was the other one. That piece of shrapnel, like he said this morning, is sharp like a razor blade, and maybe 3 or 4 inches in diameter. And I went to pick it up, and it was so hot I couldn't hold it. And it blew that hole right through those double-deck sandbags we had on the roof. But yes, that was one of the scary trips. Ordinarily with their mortar attacks, you wouldn't know they're coming, and then you'd hear something exploding near you. Then you ran for your bunker, and you stayed there till the shooting stopped.
In the reading I've done about people like you who served on front lines, who lives, who dies, is so random. You want to talk about that a little bit? What you're thinking as, I mean, you can go through all the training there is, and if you happen to be right next to where a mortar goes off,
you're done.
You're done.
Yes.
The randomness of it.
Yes. You try to avoid being killed naturally, but there's no way you can actually prevent it from happening if things go wrong.
How many people were with you in that bunker for a year and a half?
2.
2 others.
And then my lieutenant left me, and then I was all alone.
You were alone in that bunker?
Yeah.
For how long were you alone there?
9 months. Actually, the whole time that I was there, other than the 3 months that the lieutenant was there.
And during that 9 months, you could have been overrun at any time.
Yes.
How do you deal with?
You never knew when they had a mortar attack whether they were going to come charging up that night.
What weaponry did you have to protect yourself?
I had a carbine.
M1 carbine?
Well, yeah. And we learned how to take the 20 shell clip and tape another one to it. So if we had to, we could just use one clip, grab it, turn it over, and jam in the second one. That was all I had.
How much did that weigh on you mentally, that you were there alone for 9 months with that danger all of the time?
Well, you just keep saying to yourself, it's your turn. Remember what that officer told me in the beginning. Everybody gets a turn. Well, it was my turn. And I'd lay there, and the shells would be blowing up around me. I keep saying, oh, John, it's your turn. And you just sit there and wait it out.
You were drafted, young wife, child, left behind. When people say they serve, you're really, it's not for apple pie and country when when it hits the fan, it's for your buddy. You're fighting for your buddy. You didn't have anybody with you. What did you think about in terms of why you were there?
No. As you get in the military, you find out you don't question anything. You are told what to do. Right in basic training, they gave us our med kit knife and said, go out and cut the grass. Now, you and I know that's stupid. It should be cut with a mower. They were telling us, you do what we tell you and don't question it. Even though you think it's stupid, don't question it. And that's where we got through it.
And you never questioned. You did your duty.
They just tell you where to go, what to do, and you do it.
How did you find out you were eventually going to leave that bunker? Was your tour of duty up?
There was nobody else that would fill that. They didn't send, there was no more second lieutenants to be forward observers. And there were no other people in the battery that they felt they could let go. They were out of gun crews or kitchen people. And none of them they felt would be able to be a forward observer.
Why do you think they needed a second lieutenant up there?
It's just part of the way it's structured. Your TO&E says you will have a recon section that will consist of 3 people. There are only 3 officers in a battery. The captain is the head man. His lieutenant is his exec, first lieutenant, and then the second lieutenant is on the hill.
It must have been a huge feeling of relief the day you walked away from that bunker.
It was, well, I said I only got off of that bunker for that 1 month of leadership school. Otherwise, all the other months I was in a bunker. After I got my commission as second lieutenant, I got assigned to a different artillery unit. And it was the 58th. I was in the 39th. I went to the 58th because they didn't want, once you were a lieutenant, they didn't want you back where everybody knew you as a sergeant or a corporal. So they moved you to a different unit. So I got moved to the 58th, and again, right back up on the hill.
With 2 other men under you?
What?
With 2 other men under you that you commanded?
I had my own sergeant and my own driver. So the driver drove us up to the hill, and we climbed the hill to find our forward observer position. And it's only about that time I realized I don't know what's going to happen here. The division, 52nd Infantry Division, was Puerto Rican. I don't speak Spanish.
And you had to communicate with them.
Yes, when they got in trouble, they would need me, and I would need them. So I learned only one Spanish word, which is que pasa.
What's going on?
That's right. If they started running around doing stuff, I just grab one and say, que pasa, que pasa. And then if they could speak English, they would tell me they needed me or they didn't need me.
Was that assignment as dangerous as your first assignment was?
Yeah, that was my last assignment, and I was there for 3 months. And then the way it works in Korea is the closer you are to the front line, the more points you get. And when you reach a certain number of points, you can get sent home. The people on the front line had got more points than anybody else. So I was building points like mad because I never got off the front line.
How long did the normal soldier serve in Korea? How long was he there?
Other people?
Yeah, average-wise. Do you know?
The artillery battery was 5 miles behind the front line. Our division was 10 miles behind the front line. And each is a staggered number of points you got per month. So the closer you were to the front line,
the sooner you went home.
The more points you got, the faster you got out of there.
Tour duty varied for a lot of different people. Did you ever see a MASH unit over there?
A what?
A MASH unit?
No.
Do you ever watch MASH?
Yes, all the time.
What do you think?
Interesting. I think there was a mass unit maybe 20 miles behind the line. I was kind of north of Chorwan, which was a city or village in Korea. And if there was a mass unit, it would have been back 20 miles. I did see at times they would have a tent at the base of a hill, which was a first aid tent. And that's where you would go first if you were injured, to that first aid tent. And if it was serious, they'd get an ambulance driven out and pick you up and take you back to a mass unit.
Mm-hmm.
But I only saw one person taken off the hill where two men were carrying a stretcher with a guy on it and a guy running along the side of the stretcher with an IV bottle. And they were coming down that hill. So I'm sure that they were going to be looking for maybe a mass unit.
You made it out, fortunately, without any injuries out of Korea.
That's correct.
So you went into Korea as a private?
Yes.
While you were over there, you skipped corporal and sergeant and went right to second lieutenant because you had passed that test. Tell us a little bit. You ended up a major, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us that story.
Well, when you're on the front line, promotions come rather quickly. So I might have been there 2 months, I was a PFC. Another month or two, I was a corporal. Another couple of months, I was a sergeant. The position called for sergeant, which is as high as I could go there. Then leadership school opened up and it changed things. But it's a difficult trip to make. And to be there, knowing people around you can be killed.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really seen a dead person. I did understand somebody right in front of my bunker was killed. A machine gunner was killed, but they got him off of there before I knew it even happened.
How did you advance through the ranks after you achieved second lieutenant?
When I got back off of active duty, I joined the Army Reserves. And I put in 18 years in the Army Reserves. That's where I met Bob Edwards.
Bob Edwards was in the Army Reserves, was a former postmaster here in Beaver Dam.
Yes.
How did you get to meet him, and what was the process that followed that got you to be a major?
Well, after I was a major, that's about as high as I could get in the jobs I had. The military advanced you based on the job openings. And there were no openings for lieutenant colonels. So I just decided to stay a major and retired as a major then.
In the Army Reserve back here in the States?
So I have, yes. So I have 19 years of reserve time and 3 years of active duty. So I have 21 years of service.
When you came back from Korea, you went back to Milwaukee?
No.
No?
Korea, well, I had a 1 week furlough to pack up my wife and my new son. And we drove back down to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where I got into there this time as an officer. When I first went, I was a private. Actually, there's a stage lower than private, which is called recruit. So for the first 3 months in the military, you're a recruit. After that, you graduate and you're a private. So I went back to Fort Sill, and coincidentally, I had to take what is called basic officer course. And I went to the basic officer course, and half of it had to do with teaching you how to be a forward observer.
I bet you aced all the tests.
I did very well there. Yeah, and I was assigned first there to a 105 battalion, and then later to a 155 battalion. And as a second lieutenant, you catch all the rotten duties that as a private you get as called KP or whatever. As an officer, I became a mess officer. I got to be officer of the guard, and got to be the payroll officer. Any crummy job second lieutenants get in the officer corps. But when I went over to Korea in the ship Megs, it was a troop ship, I lived in the bottom of the hold on a rack, and a tarp was my bed. When I came back from Tokyo on that same ship, I was now an officer. Now I had a suite, a room, 4 of us, 4 officers in this room. And we didn't go on down to the KP line or any of that. We were treated to the officers' dining room. And we had chefs bring in food for us by the barrel full practically. And you could just scoop in and take anything you wanted. That was a difference. I quickly realized this being officer is not so bad.
You know, I was just thinking back. So when you first arrived, you come over on a cargo ship, you're in the bottom hold, sleeping on a tarp, basically, or with a tarp, and then you end up in a bunker, living in a hole in a hill in Korea for 15 months, you said.
Yes.
Amazing. Terrible.
Well, again, it was my turn. So I took my turn and hopefully did it well.
I'm sure you did. How did you end up in Horicon?
Because I met my colonel in the Army Reserves was from Beaver Dam.
Bob Edwards.
Bob Edwards. And we talked, because I was on his staff, and we'd talk, and he'd say, it's pretty nice out this way. Why don't you come on out and have supper with us sometime, he and his wife. So we'd come out, we'd have supper with him, and yeah, we'd look around. It didn't look too bad. And we saw an ad in the paper for a piece of property between Mayville and Horicon, and we bought it. So that's how I got out here.
And what did you do for a living when you got out here initially?
I was in sales. I was in sales with 3 different companies. But as usual, none of them asked me about my military service.
Really?
When I got hired, not one of them.
You would think, having the rank that you had, that would really play in your favor when people interview you about your skills and what you can do and things like, but never came up.
No, they just never asked. No one ever asked. My own wife never asked me about my combat experience.
Have you talked about it much over the years?
No, not at all.
So this is the first time?
That all veterans are pretty much the same. We don't talk about it unless someone asks us. You know, this uniform was in the basement of my store, and the person that helps me found it. She brought it up, said, tell me about this. So then I had to sit down and tell her about this. There's a Korean medal with 2 battle stars. You got a battle star for every 6 months you were on the line. And the other thing is a Bronze Star.
You won the Bronze Star?
Yes.
For what you did as a forward observer?
Yes.
Your overall action, the way you conducted yourself during that entire time?
Yep.
Who recommended you for that?
I don't know. I didn't get it until I was back in Oklahoma.
Okay.
They had the battery was brought out, and the captain of the battery had his box, and he read the citation, and he came over and handed it to me. I didn't know it was coming.
You earned it.
Basically, I could look back at it now and say, I got that because I lived. If you've been on the front line and in combat that long and lived, they'd give you an award, and I think that was my Bronze Star.
How many years ago was it that the lady that worked for you found that uniform?
Uniform, I quit after I got out of the reserves, after 21 years of service.
So when did she find the uniform and ask you to explain it?
In a closet in the basement.
When?
Oh, that had to be about 4 or 5 months ago.
just 4 or 5 months ago,
Yes.
and you never really talked about your experience before that.
This woman who helps me at the store also found in my mother's chest letters. I had written a letter every week I was in Korea. I have 50-some letters saying what happened to me every day, except I'm an only child, mother was a warrior, I didn't tell her anything about the attacks. Otherwise, it's week by week what was going on. The packages I received from relatives, letters, everything is in those letters.
Did you get packages from home?
Yeah.
Food?
Yep.
Basically, that's what's in them all the time.
Sometimes socks, sometimes scarf or something else, yeah. Yes, my relatives were very nice to me. And one woman that I knew sent me stuff, but her son was in the Marines, and he was sent to Korea. And on my way out to leave Korea, I went and met him and saw him. He was an ambulance driver for the Marine Corps.
Did he make it through?
He said he would re-enlist there in Korea rather than take that boat trip again.
He didn't like the ship. Got seasick, probably.
Yeah, very much so. He gets seasick in a car.
Oh my, traveling motion sickness.
So that's why he said if they could find another way to get him home other than that ship, he'd stay in.
We're going to take a break and come back and conclude our conversation with John Jensen from Horicon, who left the Army, entered the Army as a recruit, and basically battlefield promotion to second lieutenant in Korea, and then worked his way up to major after he got back home. Correct, John?
Correct.
We'll be back after these messages.
The bakers of Country Hearth Breads want to put a little more jolly in your holiday this season with their Home for the Holidays sweepstakes. One lucky winner will receive a check for $1,000 to use for travel, gifts, or just celebrating with family and friends. Whatever would make your holiday more memorable. Enter today at countryhearthbreads.com/sweeps for your chance to win. Country Hearth Breads, locally baked and delivered fresh daily.
Increase the value of your home during Menard's Home Improvement Sale. Be prepared for tire issues with Slime Automotive Tools. The Slime tire inflator plugs into your vehicle's 12-volt outlet and inflates anything from recreational to a standard car tire quickly. Plus, it includes an inline dial gauge. It's only $29.99 during Menard's Home Improvement Sale, going on now through November 10th. Plus, a Menard's gift card is always a great gift idea.
Save big money at Menards.
My night vision was getting very poor, and things seemed cloudy to me.
Judy Schachner saw the ophthalmologist at Vita Park Eye Associates in Beaver Dam.
I went to the doctor for my eye exam, and of course, he said I had cataracts in each eye, and I should have surgery. There's no discomfort, there's no pain. You don't really feel anything. Before I went in for surgery, my vision was basically, I had farsightedness. I needed readers for everything I did. At the end, I had better than 20/20 vision. I had complete confidence in Dr. Castillo, and everything went exactly as he said. I had no complaints. It's wonderful.
Dr. Thomas Castillo and Dr. Jay Wilkins are the surgeons at Vita Park Eye Associates, where your eyes are among things in life that can improve with age. Ask about lifestyle implants today. Partially covered by Medicare, results may vary.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center reminds you that if you need a wood splitter, you'll find tractor-mounted and stationary wood splitters. For all that snow removal this winter, Huff's Repair has the Western and Henniker snow plows and plows for trucks and skid steers. Huff's Repair Center, 717 South Center Street, Beaver Dam, saluting all of our veterans.
They say to really know a man, you have to walk a mile in his boots. Well, my Channel Seedsman has logged more miles than I can count in mine. Every spring, we hit my fields together at the first sight of green. 6 weeks later, he's out here again checking roots, stalks, soil, like they were his own. As crops grow, so does his commitment to making sure there's nothing overlooked. Nutrients, weed control, pests, disease. He gets an agronomist to weigh in whenever we need a second opinion. The whole time, using the latest technology to document where we've been and decide where we're going. Wheels always turning. And come harvest, we celebrate in the cab. Him working away making plans for next season. That, my friends, is what they call seedsmanship at work. Look, anybody can sell you seed. Only a Channel seedsman gives you everything you need to make the most of it. Find yours at channel.com/boots.
Hey, Wisconsin, break out the Blaze Orange because Hunt Week is back. Fleet Farm is your one-stop deer season destination. And Hunt Week is your chance to get the hottest offers of the season on gear, apparel, ammo, snacks, and more from all the best brands. Plus, Wednesday only, enter to win a Savage Axis rifle package. Hurry in for Hunt Week to get the best buys all week long on everything you need to bag that trophy buck. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Check out the latest local videos on DailyDodge.com, brought to you by Dr. Yesh Ears, nose, throat, and plastic surgery specialist in Hearing Solutions.
We're back on the air with our tribute to veterans. Veterans Day, of course, being celebrated on Sunday. Our sponsors for this afternoon's program, Edward Jones, Richard Greep, Beaver Dam Community Activities and Services, Hups Repair Center, American Bank, Kepselberry Funeral Home, and Horicon Bank. We are talking to John Jensen, who served in the Korean War. And we told, John has related the story about how he was a forward observer for the artillery, lived basically in a hole in the ground for 15 months, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
Must have been a very, I want to say, horrible experience for you. Do you view it, when you look back at it, do you think, my gosh, that was horrible, or what do you think about it?
Well, I do think that I could have lived a better life in any other job in the artillery. If I'd have stayed back in the battery where the guns were, it was fine. You lived in a tent, you had cots to sleep on, you went to the mess hall. What more could you want? All the things I didn't have by being up on the front line in a hole in the ground. So that, yeah, as I look back, I could have had a better life in Korea if I hadn't been on a forward observer.
And as you related earlier on the air here, you didn't know you were going to be a forward observer until you basically got to Korea. You were with your unit. You're going to work on a gun, you thought. And right away, you were told you were going to be a forward observer. And you drove 5 miles up to that hole in the ground, your first one, and that's where you lived.
Yeah, that's the way it was.
What a shock.
Yes, you keep really, if you let your mind do it, you keep telling yourself, it can't get worse. And every step, it got worse.
You suffered post-traumatic stress syndrome, you said, when you got back to the U.S. Do you want to talk about that at all? Or?
Well, it happened after I left Korea. I went home, picked up my wife and my son, and we went back to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And there, my wife got pregnant again, and we had another child. To this day, I cannot remember taking her to the hospital, visiting her in the hospital, or bringing her home with a child. So I often ask my second son, we're not sure who you are, because your mother can't remember it, I can't remember it, I hope you're ours, because we brought you home.
You also suffered at least one physical disability. You said your hearing was affected.
Yes.
By the artillery that you served with, and also by the enemy, from the enemy artillery.
Right. Initially, when I was in Fort Sill originally, and we went to work on guns, they didn't issue us earplugs until 5 years later. I think they started realizing you can damage your hearing being around a gun. So after I got back, working on guns day, we had earplugs. But it was too late for me.
And getting the disability pay that you so well earned from the Army was a challenge, you said. It was a challenge. It was hard getting your disability.
Yes, I had to write letters saying why I thought I deserved the disability that my hearing. I had gone into the VA in Madison and they checked my hearing. They said, you got this one ear that's really bad. I said, well, thank you. What am I going to do about it? She said, there's nothing you can do about it. So we can give you some hearing aids. And they tried doing that, but that didn't work either because the batteries were so small and my eyesight was so bad, I could not keep it in batteries to work. So just recently I got kind of a headphone outfit that works for hearing.
Do you think your eyesight was affected by what you did in Korea at all?
I try to tell them that because you're on binoculars every day. Every daylight hour, you're going to be looking at the enemy to see what's going on over there. We had a football field of grass in front of our hills. Then there was a river called the Imogim River. And then there was another football field of grass. And then there was hills just like ours, but they were the enemies. So we would just, every day with binoculars, look across at the enemy, see what are they doing? What are they doing, moving equipment? Are they moving men around? That was our job. Every day we'd be with the binoculars. So I told them at the VA in Madison, I said, don't you think they might have damaged my eyes? I said, no. They said it's macular degeneration. And that's more, it's not result of your...
So you saw the enemy every day practically across that river?
Yes, every day. Every day that there was daylight, we were there. Spring, summer, fall, winter.
How cold? Korea's cold.
No, it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't?
You were in a bunker and there wasn't much snow. How I really knew it was winter was because I could see the enemy and they started wearing white uniforms rather than their olive uniforms. But that was the biggest symbol I had that, yes, winter's here.
Okay. Korea is often talked about as really the forgotten war. Would you agree with that?
No, shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but has it been?
A lot of casualties happened in Korea. There was the Chosan Reservoir. We lost a lot of men. That was in North Korea. In Chorwon, who was just behind where I was, we lost a lot of men. There's a book written, I think, about the fields of Chorwon, or the Battle of Chorwon. So, yes, we lost a lot of men there. I heard one fellow who was there that night, real bad night when they were fighting, he said his job was to put body bags on the dead. And within half an hour, he said he ran out of body bags. But it was so cold, they just started stacking the dead people, soldiers in the back of the truck without a body bag. Yeah, that was a bad one. And that happened before I got there.
Do you personally feel that your service is appreciated? As a serviceman who served in Korea, do you think people have showed you enough appreciation for that?
Well, nobody appreciated it as much as those that were there. And I feel sorry for those that were there. A lot of them died, a lot of them made it. But those that made it, yes, we should thank them for whatever they did. I don't care what job you had in Korea, you weren't there on your own. Somebody was there and you work together usually. So yes, you need that support, or let's say it helps. a lot.
There is a Korean War memorial now in Wisconsin, and I believe it's up around the Wausau area somewhere that people can visit. Were you aware of that?
No, I've been offered the honor flight because I meet all the requirements.
Are you going?
And I've decided not to go.
Why?
I've seen a picture of the statue, of the Korean Memorial statue, and I've seen military grave sites, and I didn't think I needed any more. I would have only gone to meet other guys that were over there when I was.
Have you ever run into anyone that was over there when you were?
No.
So this really, until a few years ago, was all contained within you, your whole story.
Yeah.
You were the only one that knew about it. You never talked to anyone about it until some years ago. Does it feel better now that you have talked about it?
I will find out when I leave.
Well, again, I want to personally thank you, and on behalf of everybody here at the radio station and all of our listeners and viewers, thank you for your service to the country.
Well, everybody that finds out I'm a veteran say that. Thank you for your service. And I remind them it wasn't my idea.
And you look great in your uniform. Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
Yes.
And that is going to conclude this portion of our Veterans Day tribute. Now, we're going to take a commercial break, and we're going to air, and this will only be on audio. It won't be available on your video tab. An interview that we did with retired Dodge County Judge Dan Klosner, which was recorded a number of years ago. Judge Klosner served in Vietnam and related his story to us. So you'll be able to listen to that on AM 1430 or on dailydodge.com. Just click on the audio tab. You can do it on the audio tab, or just get to the home page and click right there, and you can get it either way. Our general manager is here explaining to me how digital works. I'm the old guy. So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. After these words, we'll get into that interview with Judge Klosner, and very, very special thanks. And as I said at the top of the broadcast, if you have an opportunity in the coming weeks, when you see anyone from any of these businesses, thank them for helping us bring to you the stories of these wonderful people who have done such a great service for the country. And as you just heard, under a great deal of stress, living in unimaginable conditions, and fearing for their lives like many of us can't even fathom. We owe them all a huge, huge debt of gratitude. And as we celebrate Veterans Day, on Veterans Day this Sunday, take a moment to remember and reflect what these people have done to protect the freedoms that we in this country enjoy each and every day and take for granted. Let us never take our veterans for granted. We'll pause for these messages and then our interview with Dan Klosner.
Huff's Repair Center of Beaver Dam salutes all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. And we thank our many listeners for tuning in to today's tribute. Huff's Repair Center